Never mind, I'll say it later.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. It is 3:30 on April 7th. I'd like to call this Caddo Parish Commission regular session meeting to order. Mr. Clerk, could we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Hopkins.
Here.
Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Jackson.
Here.
Commissioner Young.
Here.
Commissioner Burrell.
Here.
Commissioner Jones. Commissioner Gage Watts. Commissioner Taliaferro.
Here, sir.
Commissioner Atkins.
Here.
Commissioner Chavez.
Here, sir.
Commissioner Lazarus.
Here.
And Commissioner Epperson.
Present.
All right, I am counting 9 of 12 members present. That does constitute a quorum. I do believe that 2 of those 3 that are absent are in the building, but maybe just out of the room at the moment. And that would be Commissioner Johnson and Gage Watts. Commissioner Jones also reached out to let us know that he will be here momentarily. But you do have 9 of 12 members present. That is a quorum.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Clerk. We're going to ask Pastor Charles Johnson to do the invocation, if he could come up, and we're going to ask Commissioner Chavez to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance after the invocation. Everybody please stand if you're willing. Welcome, Pastor Johnson.
Thank you. Let us pray. Oh, gracious and eternal God, we come before you thanking you for this day, thanking you for your goodness and your mercy and your loving kindness toward us. God, we thank you for this parish. We thank you for this body of commissioners. We thank you for this administration. But most importantly, we thank you for the people of Caddo Parish. God, we pray that as business is conducted today, we pray that it is conducted in the best interest of the people of Caddo Parish. It is in Jesus' name we pray. And everyone said, Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
If everybody in the room would please face our flag. Military veterans may render a hand to brow salute. Everybody else, right hand over your heart. Repeat after me. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor Johnson, for that invocation, and thank you, Commissioner Chavez, for that pledge. And let's all recognize School Board Member Dottie Bell over here in the audience. Thank you, Ms. Bell, for coming to the Caddo Parish Commission meeting. I'll give you a hand. There we go. Okay.
And Mr. President, as you were recognizing Ms. Bell, I don't know if you noticed that former Representative Barbara Norton walked
Hello,
in as well.
Mr. Former Representative Norton. Commissioner Epperson, you're on the board.
Yes, sir. I'd like to make a motion that we move up visitors 6.3 to the top of the agenda. Colonel Sweeney has an engagement that he has to be to at 4 o'clock p.m.
Second.
If I can get a second.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Epperson to move Colonel Sweeney up in the agenda, and seconded by Commissioner Chavez. Any discussion on this matter? Let's have a vote. Doesn't require a public hearing, does it?
Yes.
It does? Does this require a
Yes, sir.
public
I
hearing?
want to supersede the public hearing too, because I didn't know how many cards we had.
It won't require, I think his question, Commissioner, was if this action requires a public hearing, but it does not require a public hearing. This
Okay.
would be
I thought
prior
you
to
meant
your
to
public hearing.
Okay, so we have a vote. Has everybody voted?
Commissioner Jackson?
And that motion carries with 11 in support and none in opposition and 1 absent.
Okay, Commissioner Epperson, if you'd like to introduce your guests.
Would Mr. Vernon Williams and Colonel Eric Sweeney come to the mic, please? Ladies and gentlemen and commissioners, I have coming before you Colonel Eric Sweeney, the Director of Army GROTC Program Instruction of the Caddo Parish School Board, and Mr. Vernon Williams, who is an excellent member of the Veteran Celebration Committee, which we've had in place since 2011. We give the largest veteran parade and honor ceremony on behalf of veterans in the state of Louisiana. We've received statewide accolades as well as national accolades as to the events that we put on regarding our military and veterans. And at this time, we are going to present a check in the amount of $1,500 to Colonel Sweeney to his GROTC program, because they are a very, very important cog in the wheel when it comes to putting the Veterans Parade on. They do all the logistics, they set the parade up, and we wouldn't be what we are today without them. So at this time, Mr. Williams, would you present the check to Colonel Sweeney?
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Colonel Sweeney, comment, please. Comments?
Yeah, to Commissioner Epperson, to you all, thank you very much. The Veterans Celebration Parade is significant. It helps our young people know the service and sacrifice of veterans. So we really appreciate it. We look forward to working with Mr. Epperson and the whole committee every year. And we really appreciate this money because most of our kids get 3-year scholarships, and donations like this help us get them to 4 years of college. So we really appreciate it, and thank you for everything you do for veterans.
And at this time, Colonel, before you take your seat, Mr. Williams, you'd like to make comments? And I would like for all Veteran Celebration Committee members that are in the audience to please stand.
Thank you, Commissioner Epperson, and on behalf of the Veteran Celebration Committee, again, an expression of appreciation for Junior ROTC and all that they do. We look forward to returning to a safe live action opportunity for these young folks to continue to help in that parade opportunity, and thank you for your leadership, Colonel Sweeney, for the Junior ROTC, and for support and leadership in the Veteran Celebration Committee. Thank you.
And before you take your seat, ladies and gentlemen, I want everyone, the commissioners as well as the persons in the audience and the viewers, to know that we are planning to go full scale in 2022 with all events for our veterans and our military. The last 2 years we have not had any program because of COVID, and we are hoping this year will be a banner year. The funds after our expenses is what we donate to the ROTC program, so we hope that all citizens that's looking and listening would help participate. We do the bulk of our funding through a program book, which we sell sponsorships and ads, and that takes care of our expenses, and anything that we have left over, we donate it to the ROTC program. So anyone that would like more information relative to our schedule for this year, please contact me at kaacme001@aol.com, and I'll send you a complete packet. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you for what you do for our young people and our ROTC programs and our veterans. So thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Should I have a motion to go back into regular session? We have a motion by Commissioner Stomagate Watts and a second by Commissioner Young. Can we have a vote, please, sir?
Commissioner Calzera?
Okay, that motion carries with 11 in support, none in opposition, and 1 absent, bringing us back into the regular session agenda. And we are at item number 4, which is agenda additions. There is one potential agenda addition that I know has been mentioned, and this is a possible agenda addition regarding a special resolution of remembrance and appreciation for Mrs. Eileen Fields.
Okay, could we have a motion to?
I move.
A motion by Commissioner Epperson to expand the agenda.
Second.
And second by Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts. Now we'll have to do a public hearing, so we will open the floor to a public hearing. If there's anyone in the audience who is either in support of or opposed to expanding the agenda to include this item from Ms. Elena Fields, please come forward and speak either for or against. Seeing no one, we will close the public hearing.
I think you may have somebody who's on their way.
Good afternoon. Please give us your name and let us know what's on your mind.
Good evening. My name is Alice Adams Williams. I grow for Daddy's Produce. Along with me is Victoria Gillum, CEO for Greenwood Support Agencies and Greenwood Vendor. with the absence of Veronica Brown, Greenwood's town clerk, we are here asking for a proclamation for a lifetime parish resident, Arlene Durden Fields. She was the CEO of Greenwood Community Center for over 30 years. She was the first Head Start in the Greenwood, Louisiana. She was a mentor for many young people. She was a spoken word for the misfortune. She had no color bearings. We are giving a community Easter egg hunt on April the 16th in the town of Greenwood, in Greenwood Park, in her memories. I want to thank you all for a great job that your commissioners are doing, especially for my District 12, Ken Everson. And also I would like to thank Mr. Wesley and Ms. Katina Williams for their great works also. And thank you all for keeping the we in Caddo. Thank you, and may God bless you, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming up and sharing your thoughts with us today. Is there anyone else to speak on this agenda addition regarding Ms. Fields? Seeing no one else, I'll close the public hearing and we'll have a vote on adding this to the agenda.
All right, that motion carries with 12 in support, none in opposition. So that motion to expand the agenda carries. And we will take that up as item 8.8 at that when the time is appropriate. We'll move on then, unless there are any other agenda additions. I'm not aware of any, but Mr. President, did you have anything
Okay,
else?
no, there's no others.
All right. We'll move on then to citizens' comments. Citizens who wish to address the commission on any issue other than zoning are asked to fill out a comment card located in the chamber foyer and return it either to myself or the president of the commission. And comments are limited to 3 minutes. I know that we have received a few and they've been given to the president at this point. I have no additional, but there is a box here if anybody needs to fill one out and submit it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clerk. Our first visitor is Mr. Pastor Charles Johnson regarding an NGO application. Welcome, Pastor.
Thank you. Charles Johnson, 202 North Thomas Drive, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71107. We brought packets for each commissioner, and I believe that they're going to share those packets with you all. Normally, when I rise, I usually rise to represent the 35,000 plus listeners of KOKA radio station. But in this moment, I rise on a issue outside of KOKA radio station, which is a nonprofit that bears my name, and not only does it bear my name, but the work that we do within the community. Before I start this presentation within the time that you all have given, I want to share with you that even though this organization bears the name of myself, I want you to know that the work is done by individuals who serve in our office, individuals who serve on our nonprofit board, and also even our programs coordinator who goes every weekend to do extraordinary work. And those individuals, some of them have come today, and I would ask that they would please stand. If you would just stand.
Welcome.
And I just want to thank them for being here today. Thank you. Let me say in this presentation that you would see that our mission is to uplift the community through empowerment, employment, and community engagement while providing necessary resources to those in need. Years ago, in 2015, as you can see pictured here, we were awarded a proclamation by both Mayor Tyler and Mayor Walker in Bossier City for the work that we have done in the community. On the back page that you will see, we have housed hundreds of women within our community that we have done work for. You can see pictures here through our Women's Empowerment program, also our Family Health program, and even our Girls Empowerment program. And to Bettina Bolden, who's here today, I want to thank her for the work that she does through that program, and even our Women's Empowerment program as well. On the next page, you will see our program for African American youth males. We work very hard in our community to ensure that African American youth males are uplifted and empowered. And we provide lifetime mentorship to those African American youth males. Also, you would see as well in this presentation, programs on race relations. One of the things I'm most proud of is the work that we do to bring people together. I believe in our parish and even in our city, we do have challenges as it relates to different races. And so we have worked very hard to bring local congregations together, to bring people together. And I'm excited that we have every month over 18 different congregations that we bring together throughout the city of Shreveport and the parish of Caddo. On the last page, could I get more
Motion
time?
to extend.
3 minutes.
2 minutes?
3.
3 minutes? Okay, carry on, Pastor.
Thank you. On the last page, you will see that we have an overwhelming support from the community, and this is not just but people who are listed here, but people beyond this paper. Pastor Danny Duran overwhelmingly support the work that we do. Pastor David Rice of Brookwood Baptist Church, Pastor Theron Jackson of Morning Star, Pastor Timothy Jones of Peaceful Rest. Also, Southern University at Shreveport support the work that we do. Louisiana State University at Shreveport support the work that we do. But one comment I want to read that is listed here that means so much to me, even though we have an overwhelming amount of support throughout the community. That is the comment of Miss Marilyn Jackson, who was the very first board member we had in 2007. Would you stand, Ms. Jackson? The very first board member we had in 2007. She says, I've been a board member from the very beginning in 2007. The day we named this organization after him because of his popularity within the community as a radio personality, I've watched him help countless of people through this organization and even personally. That's why I work hard to fundraise for this nonprofit and give personally to see things happen. I want to say to all of you in your packet as well, because we have support on a state level, we have support with the city of Shreveport. You will see a letter from the Director of the Community Development, Ms. Bonnie Moore, who overwhelmingly support us and not only support the work that we do, but fund our programs even on the state level. I want to thank even him now, State Representative Sam Jenkins, for the work that he does to make sure we're supported on a state level. I am asking you, the parish commissioners, I know that our application went through committee and it wasn't successful, but I ask that you would please reconsider that and place that on the committee agenda, and please support us, because we would like to do more, and we can do more with the help of this parish. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor. Thank you, Pastor. We can't take questions. You know, we can't ask questions or anything right now, but thank you for coming up. Our second guest is Adrian Barton. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Please excuse me, I am battling a sinus infection, so if I sound a little raspy, please, I do apologize. I'm just here on behalf of the Huntington High School Alumni Association. I am the current president, Adrian Burton, 3530 Galaxy Lane, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71119. I am here with my second vice president, Marilyn Robertson, and our member, Jada Sims. And we're just here on behalf of Mr. Epperson. He brought several of our students. I would like to ask you all to stand up if you could. Several of our senior students. He took them out for a day. We appreciate everything Mr. Epperson is doing for our community and for our district. We want to thank him as well as Representative Dottie, School Board Representative Dottie Bell. They put so much work into our district and our community for our children, and it's very important through the Alumni Association that we have that support. And so I'm just here to say thank you, and we appreciate everything that you all have done for us.
Thank you for all y'all do as an alumni association. It's a very important part of the organization. Thank you all for what you do for our young people.
Thank you so much.
All right. And Alice Adams Williams, you already spoke, I guess. Did you have anything else to add? No? Okay. That's it for citizens' comments.
All right, that brings us to the next item on our agenda, which is visitors.
I think maybe Dottie.
Could we suspend the rules and allow school board member Dottie Bell to say a few words?
Motion to suspend.
Second.
We had a motion to suspend and a second from someone on the other side. Go ahead, Ms. Bell.
Good afternoon. Address Dottie Bell, 7881 Jefferson Page Road, Shreveport, Louisiana, and Huntington, Walnut Hill, and Turner's in my district. And I'm so proud of them. But y'all know what I'm proud of today, these sweet babies. Look at them. I just talked to this young man. I said, now what you want to be? School board member, parish commission, city council, or he can be the president. This what you doing, Ken, commissioner, and the rest of it, thank you. This is what they need to see. Just saying I want to run for office, I wish everybody, adults and all, understand. And the young man told me here, it's more than what you think. I say yes. So I am so glad that y'all decided to do this so they can understand that just because I want to run for school board, it's a lot to it. But I am so happy. Thank you again, Commissioner. And then I noticed the other young man, he all on TV, and I on this baby here. This baby here. So I'm just saying, thank y'all for doing this. And I guess I need to go back to the school board and tell them we need to do the same thing so they understand what we're doing. We make them rules that their children don't like. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bell. Thank you, Ms. Bell. It's always nice to hear from you. We did have one additional visitors recognition card come in, Mr. R.J. Johnson. Welcome, RJ. It's good to see you again.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. RJ Johnson, 333 Texas Street. I'm here as the Chief Volunteer Officer of the Shreveport Salvation Army Boys and Girls Club. Wanted to invite you to our Wheels and Wishes car and bike show on Saturday from 12 to 4 at the State Fairgrounds. It is going to be a very, very, very fun and exciting event. So we'd like all of our commissioners to come out. We appreciate our home commissioner, Commissioner Burrell, and all of our visitors. So want to invite you to that event Saturday, April 9th from 12 to 4 at the State Fairgrounds. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Thank you for the invitation. Okay, seeing no more visitors cards, let's continue on, Mr. Clerk.
Okay, that brings us to the visitors section where we do have two scheduled visits today. The first being Huntington High School Students Commissioner for a Day. And that is sponsored by Commissioner Epperson.
Commissioner Epperson?
At this time, I would ask that the 4 student commissioners from Huntington High School come to the mic and introduce yourself. Then once you do that, come up on the dais, and I will have you to be seated.
Hey, how y'all doing? My name is Lamarion Love. I'm a 2022 graduating senior from Huntington High School. Today I just wanted to thank the administrator, Ms. Bryant, of course Ken Epperson, for allowing us to be a commissioner for a day. I would like to thank the Huntington alumni also for showing up today, and I just wanted to say thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, my name is Nevaeh Savannah. I'm a graduating senior at Huntington High School, and I just want to thank everyone for giving me the opportunity to become a commissioner for a day.
Thank you for coming down.
Hi everyone, my name is Jacqueline Hust and I am also a senior graduating from Huntington High School. I would like to thank every single one of you for giving all of us an opportunity to see what you all do, and I would have never thought that I'd be standing right here in front of any of you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Jonathan Tully and I am also a senior graduating from Huntington High School this year for 2022. Like everybody else has said, I am also happy and glad to have this opportunity to come up here and come to see what every district has to offer and what they have to offer, not just for themselves but for the citizens as well. And I appreciate everything that y'all have done, all the hard work, all the time that y'all give out for this parish. I appreciate it, and I'm pretty sure everyone else in here does too. So thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Chavez, you're on the board.
That was previous, President. You can remove that.
Commissioner Epperson.
Okay. Thank you all, commissioners. You just had the introduction as to the 4 student commissioners for a day. We started out at about 9:30 this morning. We got in the commission, one of the commission workrooms, and I walked it first.
Jeff,
where's mine? Yeah, he's mine.
Getting him a chair.
Well, there are some chairs here. I thought you put this one here to give some extra space, but we'll do this one.
All right. As I stated, we began about 9:30 this morning. We met in one of the smaller commission meeting rooms. We mapped our strategy. We had an agenda, and we started out with the commission clerk's office. Then we left there and we went to the voter registrar's office and the facilities and maintenance where they got ID badges made. And there were 2 that are 18-year-olds now. When we visited the voter registrar, we got them registered to vote. We left there and we went to the Caddo Parish Courthouse. And we toured the courthouse. Mr. Kevin Lawrence, the facilities and maintenance director, was with us. We came back to the commission and we composed ourselves. Then we got a riding tour. We went to lunch. We discussed, had a good discussion at lunch with the parish administrator and assistant administrator. We came back from lunch. We toured the 8th floor, all the administrative offices of the Caddo Parish Commission. Once upon that, we took a riding tour. We went to Animal Services first, Caddo Correctional Facility. We then went down to Eddie Jones Nature Park. And we run out of time. We wanted to go to juvenile services, but the kids were so inquisitive, asked some questions, and were so fascinated about all the things that encompass in parish government that they really didn't know was involved. We even visited the South Camp to show them about the heavy equipment. We spoke with workers within those departments, finance department, purchasing, all of those, telling them what qualifications that they would need for education. It's not only as being in an elected position, but there are almost 450 paid jobs, hired jobs with the commission that goes along with government. I told them, you probably don't want to come with this elected thing because there's a lot involved in it. I told them that my district, for interest is 21,000 residents, 14,480 registered voters, 77,000 acres, 60% rural, 40% urban, and 118 square miles. And you have a lot of disgruntled people. Even before the students met me down here this morning, one of my constituents was waiting for me at the door about a zoning issue. So, but that's what it's all about. We have to love what we do, but they got a good education, and they are here now to sit in on what we do legislatively. And one thing they say, I did not believe all of this was involved. And I say, it'll take you 3 days for us to go over everything. So we're glad to have them today. And I'm an individual, I don't just do things for show or for fluff, as they say. I do things with a purpose. I have a letter with 4 envelopes that I have for each of these student commissioners for a day. And it reads, April the 7th, 2025. Dear Navashi Savannah, it has been my pleasure having you as a 2022 student commissioner for a day for District 12. I hope that you are more informed about local government and how important public servants and elected officials are to keeping Caddo Parish running smoothly. I appreciate you and your desire to learn about Caddo Parish's different departments, such as administration, animal services, commission clerk's office, facilities and maintenance, juvenile services, human resources, public works, parks and recreation during National Parish Government Month. I wish you nothing but success on your future endeavors. Please update the commission annually on your well-being and current activities. You can send a letter to Caddo Parish Commission Clerk's Office, 505 Travis Street, Suite 110, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71101. Please note you can also reach me at any time via email. Once again, I'm proud of you and wish you continued success. In this envelope, I want on April the 7th, 2023, for them to send me a letter back stating how they are doing. April the 7th, 2024, April the 7th, 2025, and April the 7th, 2026. We don't want them to ever forget this experience. And at this time, Commission Clerk, would you put up a photo of one of the first student commissioners for a day? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, commissioners for a day. This is Mr. Tony T. Williams. He's a Keatville native. He graduated from Huntington High School May 19, 2001. He was a cadet colonel and a brigade commander in the Caddo Parish GROTC program. He was a student commissioner under Commissioner Epperson in 2000. Also a Hugh O'Brien Youth Ambassador, and attended the 2000 and 2001 presidential classroom in Washington, D.C. He joined the Army August the 2nd, 2001 as a private E1 and was promoted to private first class upon graduation from basic training due to his 4 years in Caddo Parish GROTC. He served 14 of his 21 years overseas in Korea, Germany, and the Middle East. He completed 2 combat tours with the Air Defense, Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, and infantry in Afghanistan. He's promoted to the rank of Master Sergeant E8, June 1st, 2018, where he was assigned as a Brigade Communications Senior Sergeant of the 66th Military Intelligence Brigade, which oversees intelligence operations throughout Europe. Currently, he serves as a Detachment Sergeant of the Headquarters and Headquarters Detachment of the 6th Military Police Criminal Investigation Division, we call it CID, group at Joint Base Lewis McCoy. There he serves as the Senior Sergeant of the Headquarters Unit, which oversees criminal investigations at Joint Base Lewis McCoy, Fort Hood, Texas, Hawaii, and units in Southeast Asia. The veteran organization that he's a member of is Veterans of Foreign Wars, number 8180. He's a life member. American Legion Post 38, life member. Sons of the American Legion, number 37. Korean War Veterans Association, number 299, life member. Professional organization that he's a member in, the American College of Healthcare Administrators, Society of Post-Acute and Long-Term Care Medicine, and the Gerontological Society of America. His academic education, which I'm proud to say he attained all while he was in the military, basically at the expense of the military. Associates of Arts degree, Biblical Studies, Georgia Theological Seminary, Bachelor of Arts, Gerontology, and a Master of Arts in Healthcare Administration, Ashford University. Currently, he's a student at Liberty University, where he's pursuing his Doctor of Education in Educational Leadership Program. He's married to Yunok Kim, American League Auxiliary Member number 37. They married January 11, 2008 in Seoul, Korea. They have 3 children. Tremaine, he's a Boy Scout and Sons of American Legion. Lloyd, 7, Cub Scout, Sons of American Legion. And daughter Gina, 4, American Legion Auxiliary 37. Ladies and gentlemen, student commissioners for a day, this shows you who and what you can be coming from Caddo Parish. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Epperson. Something tells me he probably sent you a letter in the first, second, third years after his meeting. You know, it's like, I'm sure that he sent you a letter in those years following.
Been with him
your
every step of the way. Anytime he's in town, he come down and visit us at the commission.
That's nice. Commissioner Jackson, you're on the board.
Yes, Commissioner Epperson, your students are from
Huntington, all four from Huntington.
All
High
from,
School.
from Huntington.
Graduating seniors.
Any particular reason why Huntington, or
It's just close.
It's
Well,
close.
See, my high school was out of business. Union High School.
Union
class
High
of
School.
1965.
But I know, but I applaud you for working with your school board members and working with the local school. I know you are also you work very hard at Walnut Hill, doing programs there and introducing students at an early age to what we do. And I hope, as some of the students walk through, I hope what they saw was also not just the work that you showed them of the day-to-day business, but they also saw people in the back sitting down, talking with each other, having conversations. Because in this society, what they probably almost always see is people talking at one another and not talking to and having conversation and immersed in a conversation. And so I think just the stuff beyond. Pastor CJ, are you leaving? Because I hope you can stay around for another 30 minutes or so, but if not, make sure you catch us online. Make sure you stream it online, but we might be another 30, 40 minutes. So if you can't stay, you don't have to, but I definitely have some comments but Commissioner Epperson, thank you for bringing the students down, and thank administration. I saw y'all leaving lunch. I assume they didn't have McDonald's for lunch. And it is something that I think they will always remember. So appreciate you for doing that for them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Jackson. And I too would like to thank you, Commissioner Epperson, for your leadership on this matter. I appreciate the investment you make in our young people, and I'm sure these young people learned a lot about the commission today, so thank you for that. Is that it, Commissioner Epperson?
Yes, sir.
All right, Commissioner Clerk, we can carry on to the next item, 6.2.
All right, that brings us to a visitor that we have today from the Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries. Mr. Jeff Johnson is here today. He's the biologist with Wildlife and Fisheries, and Commissioner Young had requested they have a representative. You should have received a packet from him as well at your stations.
Welcome, Mr. Johnson. Thank you for coming down. We appreciate it. Commissioner Young, did you have an issue to discuss with Mr. Johnson?
Yes, Mr. President, thank you. Thank you so much for being here, Mr. Johnson. You're very welcome. My question is about the wildlife rehabilitation program called WERLA.
Yes, sir.
And some of the work that they do here in Caddo Parish. Are you familiar with the organization?
Yes, sir.
Do you have an opinion about it that you'd like to share with us?
They're our only rehabber in this part of the state, and they do excellent work. We, as a department, well, if y'all get to look at this packet later, you may or may not want to, because I put a lot in there, and it's all available on our website, but it's very limited what we do hands-on. Even though we are a wildlife agency, a lot of our work is to advise and to manage habitat, to assist private landowners, to work on our public lands, on our wildlife management areas, that type of thing. As far as hands-on nuisance wildlife work, injured animal work, it's very limited what we do. We deal with, we'll deal with deer because rehabbers aren't allowed to deal with deer. We'll deal with injured bald eagles, and if we have nuisance black bears, which thankfully we don't have a problem with in Caddo, actually not anywhere in my region, but typically, but we will deal with nuisance black bears. Nuisance alligators, we deal with those, but not directly. People call us, tell us what their problem is, if it qualifies as a nuisance alligator, because a lot of times alligators are a nuisance in someone's mind, but by policy they are not a nuisance alligator. If it's an alligator swimming by in the lake, it's an alligator in a lake in Louisiana. So anyway, if it qualifies, we'll issue them a nuisance alligator complaint number. They contact the nuisance hunter takes care of it. That's about what we do hands-on. Occasionally we'll go on something else if the situation demands it, but as far as places that rehab animals, that will take animals off of people's hands, that type of thing, we don't have that. It takes an enormous, just from what WERLA does, I don't know how they keep up just right here, but it would take an enormous staff, facility, us to employ probably at each of our region offices around the state. We'd have to also probably employ a veterinarian, stuff we can't do. I mean, and it's not our primary mission, but what we do is to handle that, permit rehabilitators, and they do have to go through training and that type of thing. Werla actually, y'all probably know this, but Dr. Gia Morgan is does basically kind of runs Werla and with volunteer help. So she may be the only rehabber in the state that actually has a veterinarian that's taking care of it. I know she's the only one that we can take an injured bald eagle to. Otherwise, we'd be going to LSU vet school if we had a injured bald eagle, whether it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon or whatever. We'd be going to Baton Rouge. So helps us out a lot, her being there. But it also helps the public because it gives them a place to, locally that they can take things to, and she'll take care of them and assess them and whatnot. And then if it's something that they can rehabilitate, they'll do that, and then they'll release it in the wild later. So they do some things that I didn't even realize until recently. I say recently, a few months ago, we had I don't remember if it was the Lowe's over on off of Uri. I want to say it was that one. I may be wrong, but it was one of the Lowe's in Shreveport. Had a hawk flying around inside. They want us to catch. We don't have hawk catching. There's not a good way to catch a hawk flying around in a warehouse building. I mean, he's got to come down for you to get him. And there's so much activity in there. I don't know that they were actually able to get that one until he probably got hungry and tired and eventually came down, and then it probably went to them. But we've turned to Rusty Scarborough before, and he's helped us with some. He works up at Walter B. Jacobs, and he's a falconer, so he has a lot of experience fooling with hawks and that type of thing. But even then, he couldn't go at that time. And I was talking to Dr. Morgan, and she was like, well, if they end up having a problem, let us know, and we'll go down there and try to get it. Now, again, it'd be really hard to, in a store with lots of people, you'd probably just have to make it fly around and around until it got tired and came down. So, but I didn't know they went out on that stuff. I do know they sometimes will respond to injured animals and orphan stuff. A lot of times what we advise people to do when they call us is if it's, they have a baby this or that, and there's not a, whatever it is, if it's a baby possum and mama possum has been run over or something and they're worried about it, we'll tell them box it up, call Werla. Leave them a message because they're busy enough that they're not going to be able to answer the phone. Leave them a message with their name and phone number and just be patient, and they'll call back. And they do get to people, but sometimes they may be, it's late in the evening. I mean, it may be the next morning. It may be dinner time the next day before they get caught up in the sequence of calls. But they're really good about calling people back, and they'll do whatever they can to help them. And they also help educate people too, so on that kind of thing.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Johnson. I've got several other questions for you.
Yeah.
So, did you have any?
I do have a couple more questions.
Go ahead.
Thank you so much for your opinion. That's very helpful. We, in the Animal Services Committee, we were discussing giving them funding to help compensate them for the work that they do here in Caddo Parish. We calculated that the funding amounted to about $50 per animal that they were rehabilitating, more or less, instead of us having to hire someone. In the NGO committee, the Appropriations Committee, there was some discussion that perhaps your organization could provide that funding for them instead. Is that something that you're capable of doing?
It's not something we do anywhere else in the state. We've never funded a rehabilitator. We strictly permit rehabilitators. In most cases, the rehabilitators aren't of the don't have the capacity that Werla does. May not have the number of volunteers. There may be one down around New Orleans that does, but they are top of the line as far as rehabilitation facilities and staff go. But it's not something we've ever funded before, and that would be way above my pay grade to say yay or nay on that type of thing. I don't know of a means. I know we have some grants for research and that type of thing, but I don't know of anywhere we have funded a rehabilitation facility. Most of the people do it out of the kindness of their heart and because they love doing it. And that's what Werla's doing too, but like I say, they get way higher volume than anybody else. And part of that being if I have somebody in Claiborne Parish that's a rehabilitator, folks from Shreveport probably aren't going to drive to Claiborne Parish to drop off an animal. We're not going to come get it. We'll have to tell them, hey, just, leave it be and let nature happen, because if that's on them. We don't have the staff, as I said, to go pick up everything that's hurt or whatever or orphaned and carry it somewhere. So having them close is handy. And if they work with animal control, if animal control is by chance taking stuff to them sometimes, then it would seem that would be a service they're providing to animal control to take the wildlife off of their hands. So,
Thank you very much. So, if I may summarize, would you agree with the statement that they are, because they're run by volunteers, they are cost effective, and because of the high quality of service they provide, they are meritorious, and since they help us and provide for a need that we can't otherwise meet and you can't otherwise meet, that they deserve funding from this body?
I mean, that's y'all's decision when y'all vote, but I would say yes. I mean, my personal opinion.
Thank you.
I mean, yeah, they hustle.
All right, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
There are some other questions.
We got a couple more. Commissioner Burrell.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Johnson.
Yes, sir.
I've heard the expression cunning as a fox, not cunning as a coyote. We've had coyotes spotted and actually one caught. I don't know if there's been more than one out at the Shreveport Country Club.
Yes, sir.
Golf course. I'm sure you've heard about that.
Yes, sir. I've spoken with people at that country club, several subdivisions around Shreveport, Bossier.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And they've been a nuisance. I noticed in your outline here that they're called outlawed quadrupeds.
They are considered outlaw quadrupeds. There is a problem with dealing with outlaw quadrupeds, though. What we allow for outlaw quadrupeds for the public to do, they probably can't do in town, because we basically allow year-round hunting, day, night, whatever. If it's at night, they have to contact the sheriff's office within 24 hours beforehand and advise them. But that's not something that's going to be easily done by the public in town. So
it's kind of interesting to note that foxes are not under this category.
Foxes are actually, well, foxes and coyotes are both fur bearers, but foxes are very limited to what they'll, what they could endanger. I mean, coyotes aren't inherently dangerous to people or anything. More so to people to their cats that they don't put up at night or that type of thing. The coyotes will definitely, they're a predator, and they're gonna, if they get an easy meal, they'll get an easy meal.
But foxes won't do that.
Foxes are little bitty fellas. They get a bad rap, but if you ever seen a fox up close, they're little bitty fellas. Like, and I'm sorry, I don't know I'm a country boy. Like, I live literally on a dirt road a mile off a highway, and when I get in town is where I get confused. So I forget what's where and all that stuff. But there's what's the country club or the golf course kind of up north of town? Is there one up that way?
Northwood?
That
may be it. We have some foxes up there just about every year. We'll get called about foxes up there, and some of the people will be upset about them. And then again, we'll have people that go, "Oh, we love them. They were raised there. They really aren't that scared of people anymore, I guess, because they may be on who knows how many generations there." But some of the people love watching them. They're out in the daylight in that community, and which is not normal for a fox in the country. Where I live, you won't hardly see a fox in the daytime.
The coyote is not.
Coyote, we almost never see coyotes out in the country either, but in town you might, because they're more conditioned to, if they grew up in town, live around town, they're more conditioned to all the activity, the sounds, that type of thing. And
the breeding season for coyotes, is it right now where they start to multiply? Because people are calling in about them. I don't know if they're dreaming it. Well, they're not dreaming it up because they caught one or two, but the way they call in, it's like they're being invaded by coyotes.
Yes, sir. They're probably not. They're probably just several people seeing coyotes. But it's probably not a drastic population increase. I mean, I can't say yay or nay that it is or isn't, but we have the same thing whenever, and And I don't know in your particular area where you're referring to, I know.
Well, I'm talking about Shreveport Country Club, right off.
That's right. Okay. So the Shreveport Country Club, hang on, I'm thinking.
That's in an urban center.
Sir?
I say it's near urban development
Yes,
neighborhoods, but you've got a lot of
wooded area, drainages and stuff that come up through there, right? Close to it.
I'm gonna make it short. If you can work more with our animal services people, because I know that they've worked hard to try to get rid of them, but people are still calling about them.
People will call about them. We do not. The very first thing you'll see in our policy, LDWF does not remove nuisance wildlife. It is our policy. We don't remove coyotes. We refer people to. We tell them what they can do. They can live trap them. Then they could take them out of town and they could euthanize them if they wanted to. They can contact a nuisance wildlife control operator, and that's what a lot of times whenever I get them in a subdivision or something, if there's if it has a HOA, I'll tell the people, hey, talk to your HOA, and if you're paying
Your
dues.
department doesn't handle that.
No, sir. We do not go out and actively trap any nuisance wildlife.
But animal services, our animal services, I understand, doesn't deal with wild animals. This would be considered a wild animal, I would think.
I mean, they could. That's not our. We don't have any say in that. That would be a policy of animal services if that's the case. There's nothing preventing them. We have other, albeit smaller. I don't know what Baton Rouge or Monroe or West Monroe does, but like Ruston, their animal control, they do all kinds of wildlife work. They trap raccoons, relocate them. They trap coyotes. They trap beavers if they're in town, whatever. So.
Okay, we still got a couple more.
That's fine.
Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President. So based on what I've heard you say, is that the state doesn't have money for rehab purposes on wildlife.
I say we don't. We have never funded that before.
Never funded it.
Yes, sir. That's way above. I'm a region manager. There's several levels higher than me in wildlife and fisheries, but it's not something that's ever been funded through the department before. It's been on a voluntary basis. If rehabilitators want to be a rehabilitator, they take their classes they have to take, then they have to take a test. If it's a new rehabilitator, they actually have to almost like intern with an existing rehabilitator. But we permit them, we inspect their facilities and make sure they're up to the specs that are required. But no, we do not fund it. It's a voluntary basis for them to be a rehabilitator.
But I guess your belief in the department is basically if an animal is damaged, hurt, or whatever, then nature would take its course.
A lot of times that is the case.
Okay. And so in that case, there's no need for an organization to rehab because it's the circle of life.
I understand. Explain that to the people that call with I have a baby raccoon. I have a this, that, and other. They do a public service because they'll take that off of our hands. They'll take that off of, if we just tell them no, I know y'all may not get calls about that, but at some point you probably would if that wasn't there and we couldn't say, call Werla. They're gonna call Wildlife and Fisheries, won't do anything. Well, I mean, we'll be going by policy. We don't pick those up. We don't.
And it's our policy too that our animal services doesn't pick up wildlife.
Yes, I understand.
So if they don't and you don't,
they can contact
somebody has to do it.
If it's going to be done, somebody has to do it.
Well, I'm saying there should be some public body that should be responsible for doing it. And if it's not on the state level, it's not on the parish level, it has to be somebody that's responsible for doing it, because you'll have animals that either people will start taking them into their own control and just shooting them. And then you're going to go and arrest them for shooting some on their properties. So somebody has to be responsible for it. I don't know who it is, but somebody has to be responsible, because if not, you'll have people shooting stuff.
People are permitted to if it's coyotes or armadillos or feral
I'm
hogs.
talking about private residents. They will.
But they can't in town because there's ordinances against shooting them in town. So.
as ordinance, I'm outside of the town. There's ordinances in the parish that I can't shoot within so many
Yes.
feet of a house. But you have to, the citizen has to rely upon somebody to say, well, they can come get this. And if the parish doesn't do it, and you saying that the state doesn't do it,
The state permits, in this case with rehabilitators, we permit them to take in injured animals or orphan animals.
okay, so
In the case of nuisance animals, there are nuisance wildlife control operators that are also permitted through Wildlife and Fisheries. They also have to pass a test and keep their permits up.
all right, here's
And
the
they're
key question.
private pest control
Here's the
for
key
wildlife.
question. They do all that, and do they expect to get paid for it?
That's correct.
Nuisance wildlife control operators get paid, yes, sir. They are
And who
private
pay
pest
those?
control.
Who pay those?
The people that use that service.
So
If somebody wants to,
if I call somebody that's one of those that you're talking about,
Yes,
I
sir.
have to pay them.
yes, sir.
Okay. All right. What about this other organization we talked about? What you call it? Warlock.
WRLA. It stands for Wildlife Education and Rehabilitation of Louisiana.
All right. So
It's
if I
short
call
for
them,
that. I mean, it's an acronym for that.
So if I call them, are they expect to get paid?
No, sir, they do not get paid. They don't. They work solely off of donations at this point, is my understanding.
Okay. Private donation.
Yes, sir. Private donations, not public. Nothing from us anyway.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Talaferro.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, sir. Just one quick question.
Yes, sir.
At any time, do you or any of your agents, have they recommended a caller or a citizen to give WRLA a call in the, because you don't do that. I mean, is WRLA the number one go-to person?
WRLA is basically, that organization is the only place that can
I
do that
understand,
around
but
here.
I
Yes,
mean,
sir. I mean,
your
yeah,
agent-
we refer people to them
Okay,
regularly.
that's what I need.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you. And Commissioner Jackson.
Y'all don't provide funding to them, but there's nothing that stops them from putting a fee. Is there anything that prohibits WRLA from putting a fee in place, even if it's on a sliding scale?
I couldn't tell you that one way or the other. I don't know of, I would want to say that there probably is something because none of the rehabilitators do that right now. They're not, but it could be they're just not doing it as a business. That's something I would have to dig back in the law to see, and I'm not intimately
Yeah, I think
familiar with.
I think it bears.
They're not going to charge what a nuisance wildlife control operator charges because then nobody would take them.
I mean,
wild animals.
absolutely.
NUCOs, the nuisance wildlife control operators, are not cheap.
Absolutely, but I imagine that the state is not doing it because the state probably looks at it and says we don't have the manpower or resources to
Yes,
do
sir.
it.
Yes, sir.
Call a private firm, but you have
Yes, sir.
WRLA who's trying to do a public good, and just like
Yeah.
with any other public good or public do-gooders, nothing stops them. But I would love to know if there's something in the law.
I would have to, yeah, I have to research that and get back to you, sir.
And like I say, even if
I can,
hold on, let me finish.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Even if it's a sliding fee scale, what we have to try to figure out is how can we, because I think what you are caught in between, and you may, I don't know if you figured it out yet, we've got a funding request on our agenda, and we're trying to figure out, do we fund this organization or not? And so that's what the question is about, is should we fund this organization or not? And should we fund them at one level? Should we fund them at another level? However, we're up against, can we adequately fund our budget? And I think our administration has said we don't have the resources and manpower to fund it. So we're trying to find that balance at some point. And so that's why you're actually here.
Yes, sir. I understand. And like I said earlier, that's a decision for the commission. That's not ours. I could research it.
Please.
We have a lady that at headquarters that does all the permitting she permits the rehabilitators, permits nuisance wildlife control operators, basically handles all that kind of stuff. She permits exhibitors like Cypress Black Bayou Zoo, that type of thing. And she would know right off the top of her head, but I couldn't get her up here on 2 days notice type of thing. So, but I can probably check with her and get back to you.
Let me just say that, and I approach this, that if you go to Willis Knighton, ostriches and pop up in that ER room with a stomach virus, they're gonna send you a bill for X amount of dollars. If you show up to David Raines, Martin Luther King, Case Community Care, and another FQHC, I forget the other FQHC that's in this area, they will send you a bill, but they have a responsibility to see you regardless of your ability to pay. And so whether you give them $1, $2, or $500, they still have to take care because they have a sliding fee that they have to abide by. And so basically what the federal government says is, here's a set of money. We know that you're not going to probably ever recoup the cost that some private healthcare companies will recoup. But here's something, and you have a responsibility to charge something. Now, whether they have the ability to pay it or not, and I heard you say that they act off donations, maybe we need to look to see if they should do more encouraging of the donations and stuff like that. But if you could and follow up with maybe our clerk.
I can check on the legal side of it.
Yeah,
I have how they operate, we don't get involved in that, so that's stuff they would know and not me.
But I imagine they're set up in accordance with some type of statute under wildlife infringement.
Yes, sir.
So if there's something in the statute that prohibits them from charging a fee or something like that, because we might need to approach this from a policy perspective as well. So if you could research that and get back to us, we appreciate it. And
Yes,
thank
sir.
you for your time.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Commissioner Jackson, and thank you, Mr. Johnson, for coming to town to visit with us today. You've been very helpful and informative, and we appreciate you working with us.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Clerk.
All right, that brings us to the next item, which is to adopt the regular session minutes from the March 17th, 2022 meeting. Those minutes are attached.
Okay, motion from Commissioner Stormy Watts, second from Commissioner Burrell. All in favor, let's please vote.
All right, that motion carries with 11 in support, none in opposition, and 1 absent. That brings us to special resolutions, where we have a number of special resolutions on the agenda today. The majority of these are for events that are not happening for several weeks or up to, in some cases, a month. And so some of them we don't have to read today, but we do have one I know that was requested to read, which is 8.5. I don't know if y'all would like for me to
Move
just
to
read
englobo
the
and
titles?
approve and present the one that needs to be presented as approved, as presented.
Second.
Thank you. We had a motion from Commissioner Jackson to englobo and approve with the second from Lazarus. Got to get Lazarus when he gets in there. So a motion from. So we got the motion and the second. I think we can vote now, and then we'll come back and Mr. Clark, do you want to read the titles, or do you just want to read 8.5?
Sure, I'll read the titles. That is a motion, as you prepare to vote, that is a motion to englobo and adopt a special resolution recognizing Second Chance Month, a special resolution recognizing LaTronya Durham, a special resolution honoring Ted Cox on his retirement, special resolution recognizing AmeriCorps Foster Grandparents Program on National Service Award Recognition Day, a special resolution proclaiming April 2022 as the Parish County Government Month in Caddo Parish. That's the item that we will read in full in just a moment. And then a special resolution recognizing public servants and declaring the first week of May as Public Service Recognition Week, and a special resolution recognizing Dr. Eddie Giles Memorial Highway. As well as, a special resolution acknowledging Arlene Fields, a resolution of recognition and, a resolution of remembrance and appreciation for Mrs. Arlene Fields.
All right, so we're ready to vote, and then Mr. Clerk, we're going to come back because I think some people wanted to be added to the sponsorship, so let's come back to that after we vote.
I think we need to do that now.
We can do that now.
All right.
Do that before you vote.
Okay, well, let's do that now. Commissioner Burrell?
Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to be added as a co-sponsor in the 8.1, 8.3, 8.4. Let's see, Mr. Giles, 8.7. And 8.5.
Commissioner
Just say
Johnson?
all of them.
Commissioner Johnson, you're on the board?
I was on board earlier.
Okay.
Just say
So
all
you're
of
good?
You can throw an 8.6
Are you on the
if
board?
you like.
Is that, you're good?
Oh, I'm good. No,
Okay.
I'm good.
Commissioner Chavez.
President, will you add me to Director Cox, please? Thank you.
Mr. Clerk's got that. All right. We ready to vote?
I would like to be added as a sponsor for 8-5.
Commissioner Stormengage Watts added to 8-5
And 8-7.
and 8-7. All right. Now are we ready to vote?
Before the lights go out.
The win.
Couldn't hear you.
I said before the lights go out.
Oh.
They've been blinking.
All right. Let's vote.
All right, that motion passes unanimously with 12 in support, none in opposition. And that brings us to the item that we mentioned that we are going to present today. It is a proclamation for Parish Government Month, and it reads, whereas each spring the National Association of Counties calls the attention to the role of the nation's 3,069 county and parish governments that they play in the lives of citizens of this nation, declaring April as National County Parish Government Month and staging activities and events that focus on county-level programs and services. Whereas Louisiana, with its historic and singular parish government structure, serving a unique yet functionally equivalent partner to the nation's counties, enthusiastically participates in the aims and objectives of this observance. And whereas similarly, Caddo Parish also recognizes its role and responsibilities in addressing the meetings and meeting the needs of the community and even the region, and to protect and enhance the health, well-being, and safety of the citizens in efficient and cost-effective ways. And whereas through National Association of Counties President Larry Johnson's Thrive Initiative, NACO is encouraging counties and parishes to focus on 6 areas: technology, health, readiness, infrastructure, vulnerable communities, and economic opportunities that fortify what counties and parishes do to best serve their citizens. And whereas in order to remain healthy, vibrant, safe, and economically competitive, American counties and parishes provide public health, justice, emergency management, and economic services that play a key role in everything from residents' daily health to disaster response. And whereas each year since 1991, the National Association of Counties has encouraged counties and parishes across the country to actively promote the programs and services to the public that we serve. Now therefore be it resolved by the Caddo Parish Commission that it does hereby proclaim the month of April 2022 as Parish Government Month in Caddo Parish, Louisiana, in an effort to focus public attention on the role and scope of Caddo Parish government in all its aspects, and urging all citizens to recognize and reflect upon the invaluable role that parish government plays in their lives.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. And it's come to my attention that Commissioner Jones would like to raise item 8.2 and comment on Ms. Durham.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ms. Durham is actually here. I wasn't aware that the proclamation wasn't going to be ready for her to come, but since she's here, Ms. Durham, please come to the podium. I want to recognize her for her accomplishments. She was recognized in Washington, D.C. a few weeks ago as one of the top 10 women moving the nation. She is a local business owner here at District 6, where she owns Durham Trucking Enterprises. They have 4 entities under that umbrella. She has safe parking for truckers here, so it keeps truck drivers from parking in local neighborhoods. They can have secure parking on her lot. She has a Durham Trucking company, which is what she started with 1 truck, and it has spread to a full fleet, I think of over 20 trucks moving throughout the nation. She also has Durham Trucking Academy, where she's starting to train young people all over our city to become truck drivers, not only employees, but she promotes entrepreneurship. So she's teaching much more than truck driving there. And she also has parts that she sells truck parts and tires as well. So it's a strong entity that she has there. I wanted to recognize her simply because we hear so much negative stuff coming out of District 6 and Cedar Grove and Hollywood area. And this is a story, and I wanted young people to see, and I'm glad the commissioners for a day are here. I want you to see someone who has an incredible testimony, an incredible story, who's basically started from scratch and has an empire right now before her. And she was in Washington, D.C. amongst people all over the nation and was being recognized, and to me has brought much recognition to Shreveport and the things that we are doing here. And also I want the young ladies that are in the room to know that you don't have to be a male to drive a truck. You don't have to be a male to accomplish those things. Women can do these things as well. And I was hoping to actually get this done for Women's Month, but I was not able to, but that's okay. I want to be able to ensure that you get your flowers while you live. And since you're here today, I'd like to give you an opportunity to speak and give your piece. Thank you for being here, and I want to congratulate you on all your accomplishments.
Let me just thank Commissioner Jones for that verbal proclamation. That was as well done as any written proclamation. So nice job, Mr. Jones. And we are sorry we don't have your written proclamation, but we will certainly get that to you and work with Commissioner Jones to make sure that you get it. But please, you have the mic.
Thank you guys for having me down here. I like to say I am Latronia Durham, owner of Durham Transport Express Full Fleet Trucking Company. I've met you at Huntington. Full Fleet Trucking Company, been in business since 2013. And the newly Durham Transport Academy. We're training not just the young folks, we're training anybody who wants to transition into trucking. We have when we got this award, Women Who Moved the Nation Forward Award in DC, coming out of Shreveport, Louisiana, born and raised in Cedar Grove. My company is in Cedar Grove. My top students I'm looking for is Huntington, Woodlawn. I mean, that award was huge. It was everything. To go to DC and not only just shake people's hand, but also get to meet constituents. And now I'm talking to people in DC on a daily basis. They're being very resourceful for the things that's out there. You all are familiar with the $1 trillion infrastructure bill that was just passed. We are in connection. We are collaborating with several entities on moving forward. And right now, we have graduated over 15 students. 15 students, half of those students are already working right here in Caddo Parish, right here in Shreveport, Louisiana. We purchased 6 acres of land right in Shreveport, and we have tried to get on the board of Industrial Development Board. We have tried to get on that agenda. We have tried to get on the agenda with the city of Shreveport, with the Caddo of Shreveport. We're looking for assistance on how to upscale. I got a lot of questions asked of me while in DC about what has my city done for me, what has my parish done for me, and I kind of scooted around those questions because I'm from Shreveport and I'm not going down Shreveport when I get to DC. Mm-hmm. So I need to collaborate with the city of Shreveport, with the Caddo of Shreveport on how to upscale. We are training 10 individuals every 30 days. That's over 100 students annually to get jobs right here in Shreveport, Louisiana. If with the help of the city, with the help of Louisiana, Shreveport in particular, we will be able to double that to 200 students, giving Shreveport residents a firmer footing, more money. Our graduates are minimum wage $60,000 a year, more than their parents ever made, most of them. We are targeting the poverty areas. We need to. I'm not well spoken. I'm just real. I'm just telling you like it is. These kids need help. You guys are watching the news just as I'm watching the news. These kids need other avenues. They need alternatives. 60% of our population, 60% of our schools in the neighborhoods, they're not going to college. You know they're not going to college. I know they're not going to college. Let's do something about it. So we try to create alternative, which is Durham Transport Academy, and we need all the help we can get from the city of Shreveport to upscale. I reached out to Mr. Jones, I reached out to Councilman James Green, I've even reached out to people on the state level, but I like to talk to my people right here. If I can help by myself, help my sister and my company, if we can do this, purchase 6 acres of land, graduating students, getting students jobs in Shreveport, Louisiana, without a grant, without any financial assistance, imagine what we could do with the help of Shreveport.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We've got several people on the board. Commissioner Epperson, are you on the board for this?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Then afterwards, I'd like to comment relative to the Parish Government Month.
Okay.
Once we go through this. Ms. Durham,
Yes, sir.
thank you for coming. I had a constituent this morning that you might be able to get with him and collaborate with him. He's in the process of wanting a business to do with 18-wheelers, repairing flatbed trailers, and he's just putting it in the wrong place, and we have a problem with that. We got laws against it. So I'm going to, if you would get my card from the clerk and contact me, and I'll put you all together.
I have all your information. Councilman Epperson, you helped with my father's burial here a few years ago. He was a veteran. And I have all your information already.
Okay, well, contact me and I'll put you in place with, in touch with him, and it might be something that you could help him out.
Will do, thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Commissioner Epperson. Commissioner Jackson.
Yeah, let me thank Ms. Durham, friend, family, and for everything that you're doing, particularly in the Cedar Grove, Hollywood area, to not just be a business person, a businesswoman, but to be an example of what can happen if you stick to it. I heard you say 2013, you started with one truck. If you stick with it, and you would always talk about it. You would always, you would laugh and you would say, and you would always say it's coming, just watch. You would say it's coming, and the day that we broke ground out there, it all came full circle. I heard you say that you were trying to get some support. Dr. Wilson, I'm going to encourage, maybe if you could set up a meeting with Commissioner Jones, because he is a new commissioner, still new to this. Because I shouldn't hear you say that you're having a hard time getting on the economic development or the IDB board agenda. I think we should be able to request. There have been times where we have just requested economic development projects, whether it's pilots, because you're a private company, right?
Yes, I am.
So,
I've never received, not a part of the pilot program. I've spent $466,000 creating this company, purchasing the land, doing the infrastructure on it. I haven't had one tax dollar abated. We just haven't had those opportunities because we didn't know they even exist.
well, you came to the right place.
Praise God.
And you know the right person, you know Commissioner Jones, and this process has a lot of moving parts. And so we here today to ask in open session that, and work with your commissioner. Because remember, I called you when we was talking about some stuff, and I was in Dallas and we talked when the pandemic was going on, and I ended up getting in trouble.
Yeah.
So talk to your commissioner.
Okay.
Because we was talking as family, right?
Right.
We was talking as family, but I had to realize, well, maybe I need to talk it another way. And I apologize, and we got that right, didn't we?
Yes.
So talk with your commissioner, work with Dr. Wilson, because we do provide those incentives. And I also know that we have American Rescue Plan dollars that was set aside for economic development as well. And I don't know if one of those projects are going to come through. And so that may be some dollars that we can help support what you're trying to do, from the tax abatement and all of those things. But definitely, I think here in this session, I'm asking, with Commissioner Jones, asking her to please get before the Industrial Development Board and have her stuff vetted in an equitable way, in a fair way, in a transparent way. Because I heard her say that she had a hard time getting on the IDB.
I've been trying for about a year now. I've talked with Mr. Marvin Muhammad. I talked with a couple other board members. I even talked with my attorney, Harper Law Firm to try to construct a letter to the ex permission to talk, the ex permission.
These two here, I should have 3.
Okay.
Should be able to get you on that agenda.
Okay. Thank you.
Could get you taken care of, because that's disheartening to hear, particularly when you're not a bootstrap store, you're a bootless store.
Exactly.
You know, and Dr. King said that it's a cruel just to tell a bootless man or woman to pick themselves up by their bootstraps. And so I hope that, you know, when you come back down here, we can have a conversation and we can call her Project LD. But whatever, we need to see that taking place is my hope, is my prayer. So appreciate you for all that you're doing. And I know that they'll work to get you on those. And Dr. Wilson, you got to hold his hand on it because he's new. So
we'll get it before that IDB board.
they can tell them what to do over there. So.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Burrell, we still got a few more.
I'm no hurry.
Thank you, Mr. Durham. When I first read the article about what you were doing, it was very exciting. I have nephews that are in the trucking business, but they're not here. They're in Houston. And I've learned some more about it. But are you familiar with an event that's coming up called the Architects Truck Appreciation Convention?
No, sir.
Okay. I've been reaching out. They contacted me. They're out of Texas. They are relocating here, and they are building a home in Greenwood. And they contacted me about any contacts here. And I guess being around for a while, I knew some people who were in the trucking business, Tango, the Driving Academy, which is in my district over there, and they said that they didn't get very much support. So you just standing here, being a very successful trucking company, I think it would be good to put you in touch with them too, because what they are doing, they're coming here, bringing their expertise, working with individuals here locally to show them how to get into the trucking business, to how to create a business around the trucking industry, and several very strategic things that they are doing, and you would be the likely candidate to work with them along that in order to expose your business more as well as expand your goals.
Exactly.
So I will be hopefully getting in touch with you. Although you're in somebody else's district, doesn't matter. You're in Caddo.
Okay.
So if I could get your information, I would pass that on to you.
You will get it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Commissioner Burrell. Commissioner Gage Watts.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ms. Durham, first of all, I would just like to say congratulations.
Thank you.
On all of your accomplishments. And coming from a woman, I know that often we work twice as hard and not always or recognized for our achievements. And what a major achievement that you have made alone by yourself over the last 8 years. I know what that means, not to have assistance from anyone, to literally pull your own self up by your own bootstraps because you have nothing else. So I know how amazing of an accomplishment that is. I'm grateful that you have our community at heart, because that is what it's about, is reaching back and helping someone else up along the way. Any citizen in our community who is willing to offer up themselves as a sacrifice to make a difference in our community is more than noteworthy to be honored. So we're grateful that you're here in Caddo. I know that you have a job that you could be anywhere in the world, but you have chosen to stay here in Caddo Parish. And you are what makes the difference in what each of us do around this horseshoe. So I just wanted to take this opportunity to extend my most awesome gratitude for what you're doing. And keep up the good work. If it's anything that I can do, you have a wonderful commissioner in your corner, but I am here as a woman for whatever you may need from me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gage Watts. And back to where we started, Commissioner Jones.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. I'll be brief. Rokisha, if you'll come up, please, as well. I want you to be seen as well. And the reason is because this is Miss Durham's sister, Rokisha. She is just as pivotal with the success that they are enduring together. She's the CFO of the company. And
back there crying.
I always, those are tears of joy, because if you knew the story, you definitely understand the glory. And so I want to recognize you as well. A lot of times people behind the scenes do not get any accolades or whatnot, but you work very hard. You do a whole lot, and want you to definitely get your flowers as well. I wanted to emphasize to everyone that, before Ms. Dorm takes her seat, that these 15 students have come, I think, within 2 months that the school has been open. But she's already graduating people. It hadn't been open very long, but she's done so much on her own. And it shouldn't be hard for us to find some funding, because we've advanced some ordinances for some organizations that have established themselves, especially through the American Rescue Plan Committee. And we've allocated some dollars for them because they were well established. They already had programs ready to go. They didn't really need us to sustain them, but they just needed a boost. And so a precedent has been set. So I believe we should be able to help her get to where she needs to be. She spent close to $1 million to bring her company to where it is without any type of parish, federal, or state dollars. And I think that is admirable. And a lot of times we get people who stand before us who haven't done anything, and they ask for a whole lot of money. And so I think if people have proven to us that they can do the work, wherever we can step in and help out, let's do that. And let's make sure that, especially in the district like District 6, which is high crime, that we are doing what we can to do to help entities who are trying to create opportunities to decrease crime. She understands what goes on in the district because she's from there. She's lived it. She's been a part of it, just as I have. And so we're sympathetic towards trying to find ways to bring crime down in our district. And I feel like when people have the resources they need to be able to sustain, no one has to rob a store if they have enough money in their pocket. Mm-hmm. No one has to sell drugs if they have money in their pocket, unless they just want to do it at that point. But a lot of people are doing things based on survival. And so if we can, when we decide that we're going to help her, I think we'll be better off and the district will be better off. And I feel like when the parts of our district that are struggling the most are strengthened, the entire parish of Caddo will be stronger. We always say it, the chain is only as strong as its weakest link. Well, we can't worry about the stronger parts of our parish and not take care of the weaker parts. And so I'd like to see her be able to get on the agenda whenever some legislation goes forward to be able to help her. I pray that I have the support of everyone on this commission. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner Jones. I think that's it, Ms. Durham. Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Commissioner Epperson, did you want to look back on one of these items?
Yes, sir. I just want to comment relative to the proclamation of Parish Government Month. Very, very important proclamation. I know some of you won't be surprised, but you got citizens in this in Caddo Parish that don't know the difference between a commissioner, a school board member, or a city council member. Don't know their duties and their responsibilities. So it's imperative that we do all that we can do to educate them as to who we are and what we do. Just like our young commissioners for a day, we took them around. We didn't get around to all the places. It's just unbelievable that the things that we did and the volume of things that we did that they did not realize. Personally, I plan to do a teleconference on the 2nd and 4th Thursday with any citizens that would like to listen in, having members of parish government to be on that teleconference. I plan to focus that in my district newsletter, and certainly the young men and women here today, including the young man here with that Commissioner Chavez brought. We hope this has been an enlightening experience for you. And while sitting here, I received a text from Red River Education and Empowerment Foundation stating that they would like to give a $250 contribution to the commissioners for a day. So with that, Assistant Principal Laughlingberg, are you still in the audience, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm going to dismiss them, and we're going to carry them where they can leave. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Epperson.
Thank you, John.
All right, Commissioner. Thank you all for coming in. We enjoyed having y'all. Commissioner Gage Watts.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll be brief. I want to thank Mr. Ken for recognizing the students that have been highlighted on today. And though we have the entire month of April to celebrate National County Government Month, I would like to extend over into April 18th on our next meeting and ask the commissioners to, each one of us, to bring someone from your district. We do this every April, and I think we have not been able to do it since 2019, because we didn't do it in 2020 or 2021. So for the last 2 years, so I think it's imperative that we continue to celebrate this month, also enlighten our community on what we do on a daily basis. I would like to get with our Caddo Parish School Board representatives, the city of Shreveport as well, so that we can do a collective celebration on April 18th. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gage Watts. All right. Commissioner Clerk?
All
we
right,
ready to move on?
Okay, that brings us to communiques and committee reports. Where the first item we have under there today is the administration's response for information requests from commissioners. Namely, I believe they have a presentation from the Capital Area Finance Authority.
So you want to do that and then go to regular communiques? Okay.
Yes.
Yes,
All right, Dr. Wilson?
Yes, sir, that's fine. We have Ms. Kristen Villahousley is here to make a presentation, and Commissioner Atkins and Gage Watts, if you can join them at her at the podium.
Thank y'all very much. I appreciate y'all allowing me to come and present. We are so excited. This is my second time to come and share a check. I'm with the Capital Area Finance Authority out in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and we are in Caddo Parish as of December 2019. So just a little over 2 years. And in those 2 years, the fees that we share with the parish, $130,000. And that is really a great way to reinvest in the community. This represents 425 families that were buying a home that possibly couldn't buy a home because they did not have down payment assistance or closing cost assistance. And so 425 families, and of those 425, almost 300, Lakeisha Russell here was able to help. So I could not come up here and not recognize her. And because of the pandemic, I'm delayed on this. We have 2020. She was the top producer. So we are in 63 parishes. And of those 63 parishes, Caddo is the #1 parish that we're working with, and it is because of Lakeisha. So no other parish. I do like to tell other parishes what we're doing here in Caddo because it is such a success story. And then in 2021, again, she was the top producer with 151 families that she helped. So again, thank you to her. She's we have a lot of lenders here, but she is really the top one here in Caddo and in the state of Louisiana for CAFA. So we appreciate her. But now that we're able to get over here more and market, we are planning on working with Lakeisha and some other lenders to do some first-time homebuyer seminars, because we do realize educating the parish on purchasing a home is so important. It's part of our mission, and so we do look forward to coming back to Shreveport and doing some education pieces of that and working with the community. So.
Dr. Wilson, while they taking pictures, what does that money go into? Is it general fund?
General fund? The general fund.
Okay.
But we have set aside some of that money for the wheelchair ramp program.
I think
wheelchair and roof is combined.
60,000, yeah, went to roof repairs and wheelchair
ramp.
ramp.
That number finna go up, so, okay.
Right.
Yeah, all right.
I heard something about what y'all are doing with the funds.
Uh-huh.
I would love to know, because we love to share that too.
Okay.
So if y'all, if let me know what y'all doing, and I'd
Okay.
appreciate that.
We certainly
Thank
will.
you.
Ms. Johnson, answer your question, sir? Okay.
All right,
Can
and
you give me that number that we got before?
What, me?
What was the number we got the first time?
What do you, we get checks every month.
Okay, so.
We don't get one big check like that. She's just showing the cumulative number.
Okay,
But we get checks every month and they range, there's a broad range, just depends on what they close.
so can you give me that number for the last 2 years? Or 3 years?
Year to date is 22, a little over 22,000. And so before that, so far up to from January 1st until I think it was March, whenever we pulled those numbers, it was 22, a little over 22,000.
So about 118,000 over the other
Yeah.
years.
So if we keep going, I mean, I know that rates are kind of high right now and it's hard buying homes right now, but right now, I mean, by the time we end this year, we'll probably be maybe close to 200,000. We're coming back to represent another check. Okay, any more
All right,
questions?
thank you all very much.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Okay, Dr. Wilson. are we
That's
still-
all I have, Commissioner Atkins.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there, we're in communiques, anyone else on the board?
Next item, Mama.
The next item-
I'll take this one.
Go ahead.
short one.
Mr. Gage Watts.
Thank you, Mr. President. On Saturday, April 9th, from 10 a.m. to 2 o'clock p.m., there will be a health fair held at Logos and Life Christian Church on Jewella Avenue. So there will be hypertension, diabetes, a wellness check from head to toe, basically. So come out and support the cause, and that's this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 o'clock p.m. at Logos and Life Christian Church.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Stormy. Commissioner Young.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very briefly, there is an event, seed and plant sharing event at the Lot on Marshall Street, just a few blocks from here, this Saturday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's a pretty fun event. I was there, well, I don't remember how many years ago it was now. Maybe there was one last year. I'm not sure. It may have been before the pandemic. Anyway, it's a lot of fun. If any members of the public want to come and pick up free plants or bring a plant from their yard to share something shareable or seeds. It's a fun activity. That's all. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Johnson.
Yeah, real quick, this year, Cooper Road USA will do their 20th anniversary. In that, there's a parade from 12 to about 3 o'clock. And then there's a party in the park from about after the parade till 8 o'clock. They have entertainment, vendors, food trucks. So if people want to come out, be an opportunity to celebrate with Cooper Road.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Jackson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. And I appreciate Pastor CJ for staying. I saw the quotes on the paper listed. One of the quotes that's not listed is a quote by me. I think I did a quote last year via video for a project with CJ Cares. But members, one of the things that concerns me is what I'm seeing, and we had the conversation with the gentleman here from Wildlife and Fisheries, is we have to start having a serious conversation about resources and resource allocations. You know, we just had Ms. Durham here. She's looking for resources. Before we came in here, Commissioner Burrell was back there looking for resources for the crime lab. And we were discussing pulling funding from other projects about resources. A gentleman came down a couple of months ago, Commissioner Teleferro, with the AMP project. I believe you put it on the agenda.
That's correct.
He came looking for resources. In just the last week, I've had Mr. Barrington Gibson with United Nonprofits, Inc. looking for resources. Restoration Crisis Center, Ms. Carla has come down here before saying that we're not giving her enough resources. Someone stopped me at church before I could get out of church to thank me about the funding that we're giving to their organization to help young girls, I believe with the Jewel Project, and stated that it's not enough. And I have said, and I will consistently say, is that we need to have a conversation about resources.
And it does not do an organization any good who needs $15,000 for us to give them $5,000 when we just told an organization 2 weeks or a month before that no, we can't give you $20,000 because we've got a resource problem. And the funding is currently diminishing. Even though it replenishes, it's going down. And if my understanding is correct, we're transferring, to prop it up, we're transferring from oil and gas to prop those funds up. And so not just those funds are being diminished, the oil and gas fund is being diminished. So I want to be clear because I see the games that are being played and I don't appreciate it. We have to be intentional about what we're doing, but we also have to realize, as the gentleman just stood here a moment ago and realized and said, the state doesn't have the money, so we redirect them. And we're getting to the point to where we're not gonna have any money to do any of this stuff. And what we have always tried to do is have a healthy or a decent amount enough fund balance at the end of the year to be able to roll over to the next year to be able to keep up with what we have in there now. And I liken it to a slice of pizza. We got 10 people with 10 slices of pizza today, and then in 2 weeks, we got 20 people with 10 slices of pizza. And we just cutting that pizza up so thin to where you barely gonna have a crust at some point. We cannot continue to do. Now, what I have told organizations is, how about we start the conversation now about the 2023 budget process and what we need to do. And I don't know who's chairing that finance committee. Oh, okay, you're chairing it? We need to start having a conversation about that. About, do we want to start rolling some of these organizations who have historically been in there out? I don't have a problem with that. Because organizations that have been in our budgets for 20 years is not fair to new organizations who may want to try. That's the issue. It's not that Commissioner Jackson don't want to do the project. We don't have enough money to do all of this. That's where we are. And anybody saying otherwise or to the contrary is not being true. And Pastor CJ, I consider you a friend, and I told you that. I consider you a friend, and a friend would tell you the truth. And I told you the truth. We don't have it. We can give you $5,000, but you'll be right back saying, that's not enough. What I would like to see is, how can we have a conversation with how you can get a WIC contract? Because if you're helping pregnant women with nutrition, that's what WIC does. We have to figure out a way, Commissioner Atkins, how to help folks without it always ending up on our agenda. Booker T. Washington needed a basketball court. I could have came down here and said, Commission, let's fund the basketball court. North Highlands needed a new entry sign. Somebody ran into it. Commissioner, how are we gonna do that? I could have came down here and said, let's give North Highlands some money to do an entrance sign. And what I'm seeing over and over and over again is, every time an idea pops up, it jumps on our agenda. Somebody needs 20, and then we say, oh, we'll give you 5, or we'll give you 3. That is not winning. That is not helping. And my commitment is to help people get started up and roll out. If you notice, every ordinance that I have put on this agenda thus far this year has been budget neutral. It's taking monies that have not been spent or taking monies that we've currently obligated to something and repurpose. Because I'm looking at this budget and I'm seeing that we cannot keep doing this. And what we also should stop doing is reaching over into other folks' district
doing projects. And then all of a sudden it becomes, well, it's not a district project. I don't have to talk to my commissioner because this is a parish-wide project. So now it's more expensive. And the thought is, well, Jackson tells me, no, I can go get 7 other people to say yes. That's not right. Because the moment I reach into somebody else's district and try this, it's gonna be World War III down here. Jackson doing wrong, and he wildcatting, and he just all over the place. I learned that lesson very early when I got down here. And I do what I can, I'm wrapping up. I do what I can to respect everybody's district lines. But what everybody will tell you is, I am fair across the board. And I left off Southport. Southport hasn't asked. They need $50,000. So I don't tell anybody in my district one thing that I don't tell everybody. I'm fair across the board. Thank you, Commissioner President.
You're welcome, Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank everyone who came out to the symposium a couple of weeks ago. The citizens are still talking about y'all coming out. They were really impressed by that, so thank you. I know some of you couldn't make it for several reasons, but thank you for those who did come to the symposium. It was a really good deal. There's a health fair going on in District 6. This Saturday, it's a free info and screening health fair. It's going to be held at Logos and Life Community Church, 8805 Jewella Avenue, Suite 121. They're looking for hypertension, blood pressure, diabetes, stroke prevention, heart health, so breast cancer, mental health, and spiritual health. So if you know anyone who needs those resources, please get them over to Jewella Avenue. This Saturday, it's going to be from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Michael's still here, and I'm glad. Michael Walters is a young man. I want to take a little time to say thank you, man, for all that you're doing in our community. Michael does not depend on resources from other people. He finds a way to get it done, however he needs to get it done. And he's under the age of 18. He will ask, he will see if others want to join him, but usually when he comes to you, he already has it already together, ready to roll out. He's just letting you know that what's going on so you can come be a part of support. And right now he's looking of ways to prevent crime in our community. I think it speaks volumes when young people who are watching their generation deteriorate before their eyes are coming to the forefront and saying, hey, here's my idea as to how we can reduce crime in our community. I don't know if many of you are aware, but just last night a 20-year-old young man was shot in the head while working at Circle K on Jefferson Page and Pines Road. He was at work. He wasn't in the streets dealing dope, because I hear that excuse all the time. If you live by the gun, you die by the gun. But what happens when you go to work to provide for your family and someone comes in because they don't want to go get a job and they rather rob a store and your life is on the line? I want to thank Jesus Christ that he made it through surgery, because 99% of people who get shot in the head don't live. And he made it out of surgery and he's in stable condition right now. So I thank God for that. I thank God for that victory. But we should not be in a position where almost every day for the past 2 weeks, someone has been shot and killed in this community. And people are just we've become kind of numb to it, it seems like. It's just like, okay, it's another day or whatnot. But you shouldn't have to go to work and feel unsafe at work when that's all you're trying to do is provide for your family. And I just think, it's beyond ridiculous. It's beyond getting out of hand. And Michael, you being here just reminded me of why we as adults have so much more to do. This young man probably should be more concerned about hanging out with his friends and going to the movies, doing stuff that I did as a teenager. Yet he's dedicating his life to serving other people. The word declares, he that wishes to be chief among you, let him first be your servant. And so many of us are positioning ourselves to be served by others that we forget that we have been called to serve. And I don't want any of us to allow this platform and this position that God has blessed us with, me being blessed by you all's approval, but many of you being blessed by your constituents' approvals. To be able to have this platform to create change, not to be served by others, but to be a servant. And so I think, you know, you all coming out to the symposium spoke volumes to the district, and it said, okay, not just people who look like me care. Other people who don't look like me care as well. So now that we've made that step, let's now sit and see what type of legislation we can put in place and not just go to the symposium together. Let's find some bipartisan legislation we can put in place for whatever the parish it can do, Attorney Frazier, whatever we can do legally from our standpoint to assist whatever municipalities within Caddo Parish that need something from us, whatever we can do to help reduce crime in our area, whatever type of mentorship programs. And I'm going to be working on some legislation, and hopefully, you know, some of my colleagues will help sponsor it, where we can find some type of programs to help reduce crime and help especially black males and young males in our community. That's who's suffering the most from this, black males. And so this is not a handout type of deal that I'm asking for. I'm talking about real solutions that should be in place in a normal society, things that we should be able to have in place for folks, especially some type of restorative justice things that we can do for those who are coming and getting a second chance at life, because that was the majority of the people that you saw at the symposium. All those guys that spoke have been down that road, and now they're experiencing a second chance at life, and they're using that to their advantage. Also, some of those young men came back into situations where their families had something in place that they can come back to. That's not the case for everybody. And so hopefully we can start thinking more of ways that we can rehabilitate people into society and let them help us lead the way to talk to these young men and some young women who are going the wrong direction, because I had an older brother who lived in the streets. He's not here anymore to tell his story. And so all I can talk about is what I saw my brother do and what I experienced as a citizen, but I never lived the life he lived. So I can't relate to a young man who feels like he has to deal drugs or die. I never had that. My mother made sure that she didn't let me go down that road. So how can we work with these citizens that we just had the symposium with to move their agenda forward and find ways to reduce crime? Here again, thank you all for coming out. Thank you again, Michael, for what you're doing. I think that we're headed in the right direction by starting to have the conversation, but let's not stop there. Let's take it a step further and continue to work together so that we can all experience a safe Caddo. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner Jones. Commissioner Johnson.
Yes, Mr. President. I just wanted to address some comments that were made. As chairman of the Appropriations Committee, I've been doing it for quite a while. And each year, the request for NGOs has been over from 1.3 million to maybe up to about $2 million of request. Before we start the process, we always get with finance to find out what's the forecast for the upcoming year. Those are just a forecast. Maybe it could be higher, it could be lower. But what we do as a committee is to make sure that we stay under that number that they give us as a forecast. And looking at the number of organizations that ask for money, we go through a process that says, we know what this one does, we don't know what this one does. If no one is in that room that would tell us what that organization does, then they get no money. If someone is in there that can explain what that organization do, they will get some type of funding. We don't try to say we're gonna fund 100% for any organization, because most of the time when you look at the request, some of those dollars that they're requesting, we can't fund anyway. So there is a process to trying to do that. And we don't try to pick winners and losers. We just try to pick on what we know while we're in that room. So at the end of that process, there is funds left over. So we always come in under budget, never over budget. We come in under budget. Throughout the year, other commissioners that may not come to that meeting or those meetings that we do have, they'll come back and say, well, I have this organization that we want to try to fund. I think it would be good for us to do that. That opens up the floodgates every year. We started in January, opening up the floodgates. And so the gates are still open. We got to get to a point in which if the committee spends that much time vetting through 60 to 70, sometimes 80 organizations, and then coming down and saying, okay, this is what we're going to present to the body, then to me, I would want those commissioners to come into that room with us to say, when we go down that list, do we need to fund this one and that? And then if there's no emergency funding, then push them to the next year. But when you don't come to the meetings, and now you want to criticize what the committee does, it disturbs me. I don't like that, because we spend time and effort to get those numbers down from $2 point some million down to this year was over. I think it was like $700,000. So you're trying to get that number down, and that takes time. But at the same time, if there's an organization that's requesting $15,000 and we give them $7,000 because that's going to help them, now they got to work to figure out how they're going to get the other $7,000 if they need it. $7,500 if they need it. I want to make sure my math teachers know I know how to add and subtract. But if they want to get that money, they're going to find other ways to try to get it, or they evidently didn't need it. And those programs are still functioning throughout the year. We've also had where they'll come down mid-year, 3/4 of the year, and say, I need additional funding. This is what we're doing. This is what you're impacting if we can't get some additional money. And we went through other avenues to get the money. We don't want them to just say, well, come to the parish, they got all the money, and so they'll fund us 100%. That's not the statement that we want to put out. But we also want to be able to say that we can fund organizations throughout the parish. Now, this term, I've heard so many times, my district, my district. Well, we're all in Caddo. And then how do you determine my district when it's an organization that might have an address in your district, but say the director stays in your district, District 8. All right, they do functions in District 12. So where is that organization at? Is it 12, 8, or some other district where the address is? And who do they need to talk to? Which commissioner do they need to talk to when you talk about that? Talk to all three, and all three have to agree when it takes 7 to make something happen? So I just think that we got to get away from my district. I control everything that go on in my district. I've had things happen in District 2. I didn't say nothing. I just let people know, well, that commissioner is doing over there, but I'm still your commissioner. And it's just what we have to do. We're supposed to be working together. So if one commissioner is say short on some type of part of doing things, that somebody can come over there and help them. Or you can sit there and sink on your own. But it should be about how we can help each other make this parish better all together. Because the weakest link in this parish is going to be the part that's going to pop first. And when it pops, guess what? I don't care how high you up, you're going to sink. Every time. Or if that link breaks, you're going to have one part back here, one part up here. That part that's going forward can't get too far because the rest of it is in the back. So we got to work together. It takes 7 votes to do anything. 8 votes if you're talking about certain funds. So let's get out of this my, and it should be we. And if we go through this process again, let's say, hey, tell all the organizations that, if you want to say in your district, they need to come talk to the committee. The committee then puts the money in there, and we won't have to have this. We want to add or adjust the budget to do this and to do that, because everything should already be covered in the meetings that we have at the end of the year for the budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Hopkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I know, looking at our budget and looking at the way things are going, our American Rescue money's almost gone. Our riverboat money's basically dwindling up. I don't know if oil and gas is even holding its own. So we do have to make some hard decisions. I wish we would look, before we start our process this year, and look and see if some kind of template can be come up with, that there's a scoring. Now, I know you don't like winners and losers, I understand that, but it gives us an opportunity to look and score these agencies. And in doing so, we might actually find that we've got 4 different agencies doing this. Maybe one agency can take care of all these, because we're going to eventually run out of money. And there's certain things we need to do. You know, the food bank, we've got to do that. That's a funding that no matter what should be funded. And that's my opinion. Everybody's opinion's different. But if there's a way to do that, I know we've talked about it in the past, groups before us, they've looked at it stuff, and I know administration has looked at different templates and things. I wish we would just take a very hard look before we start our process and see if there's anything we can change to make sure we're funding those needed. And I'm not against saying, dang, you've been here 7 years. What have you accomplished? And if they haven't accomplished what their goal was, they need to move on out and let somebody else come in if there's money to do that. But we need to look at it hard. I can go on and on, but I won't. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hopkins. Commissioner Jones, second time, I believe.
Yeah, won't be long, Mr. President. Dr. Wilson.
Yes, sir.
That lady who came up here and spoke so nicely about giving her an opportunity to, 3 races and all that, they're still out there gambling and street racing. They're doing the same thing. She came up here and gave us a nice little story and spiel, and she's still going out there doing what she wants to do, but it was for a movie. But, I didn't see any cameras on the information I got. I didn't see Discovery TV. In fact, I have yet to see the episodes that she's recording for
next year.
So, maybe it's going to happen, maybe it's not. But if they're doing that for a movie, why is there a pot necessary? Now, where I come from, a pot means gambling. I don't care if we were doing football boards, shooting dice, whatever. If you put all the money...
You heard about it, though, Commissioner Jones. You just heard about this pot.
No, I heard about the pot. I'm just saying where I'm from. If you put a money collectively together in one pot, it's for someone's gonna win that. All right, I don't care if you're doing fantasy football or whatever. Now I do fantasy football, but I don't have a pot. I do fantasy football. We don't have a pot. But my point is, there's some gambling going on that's not sanctioned on the streets of Caddo Parish, and I don't want us to be deceived by some presentation that she made when what is going on is still illegal. And so it's not. There's more to the story than they're making movies. And so I wish they just work out whatever they need to work out with their track up in Gillum so they can go there. But we're still getting noise complaints from citizens over in that area. I think over Commissioner Epperson's area, they tried to go back over GM Boulevard again, but they couldn't end up over there for some reason. So they're trying to make it work to their advantage so we can figure out what's going on with that. She comes back to you again with the movie permit thing. It's not a movie.
Yes, sir. We haven't issued any permits.
Yeah.
And I think last weekend, Commissioner Gage Watts and I have been communicating, and we've been informing the sheriff, the data as well, and they've been surveilling the area. So as far as I know, nothing happened in Caddo Parish.
Tell them to look out by South Park Mall. They meet over near Safety Town. Not South Park Mall, Summer Grove Baptist Church.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's telling my age now.
Yes, sir. They could meet, but and we can't stop them from meeting.
No, I'm just saying that's where the money's collected.
Right, I got
so
you.
I don't know. Maybe I'll send that information to LSP. They may be able more do something about that as far as the gambling is concerned. But just wanted you to know what the situation, because she's going to come back again asking about the movie stuff.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I just got a text a few minutes ago.
Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Burrell.
I'm going to make it short, Mr. President. I just wanted to first commend Commissioner Epperson on his commission for a day. I think it was very apropos to have those young people there, and Huntington used to be part of my district. I graduated 2 of my sons from there, and it's a very, very important school, just as many of them. But, you know, I try to teach my son public service. You know, don't always take from the community, give back. And I think that's such an important lesson. Also to Commissioner Chavez, I think he has somebody shadowing him today. I plan to get involved more into that program. The other thing has to do with our budget and funds that comes in, that goes to some of these committees. We're not all privy to sit on money committees, and many times, unless you know how the process works, sometimes you come in late in trying to secure things for people who you represent. I'm not going to say district, because we all serve Caddo, but regardless of that, when it comes down to it, then politically, you're going to look to try to do things that are in your district, because we are political animals, and let's just face that. And but I would like to be, you know, supported on things that I would like to do, just as others are. Sometimes we don't have the knowledge of the process. It's not that me personally, because I've been involved in budgetary matters for over 25 years in the political arena at different levels. So I know how the process works. It's just sometimes you're not familiar enough with the process of where you sit. And I sit back and I try to learn it, so that when I come to ask for something, that it would be something that will not only help people in my district, but Caddo as a whole. So hopefully we keep that in mind. You know, I always look at the golden rule. People who has the goal makes the rules. And if it may be knowledge, it may be the financial resources that are there, and they can make the rules because they know how the system works. And I think it's so important, especially to new officials, that they learn the process and can work within the process. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner Burrell. Commissioner Jackson.
Yes, Mr. President, I just want to clarify that I want to be clear on the record. I'm not criticizing the committee that made those decisions. We all had an opportunity to come in here and adopt our budget. The motion was made that we wouldn't make any amendments, and a lot of the amendments that could have been made were not given the opportunity to be made. And so that's one thing that we need to take into mind when we adopt our budget, is that what Commissioner Burrell just said is everybody is not given that opportunity. You may come in and sit on that committee, but you're not given an opportunity to vote on that at that time. And so when we adopt our budget, that's why we should take the time to go through that process. So I don't want anybody to think that I'm criticizing a process. I'm fine with the NGO budget as it is, because every ordinance that I have put on has been budget neutral. So I'm fine with the NGO budget. I'm fine. I appreciate the committee. I think anybody who's chaired this body, when they ask me to be on the NGO committee, I tell them no. But I will, if I can, participate in the conversation. I come to those meetings and I have those conversations. And I also want to, say that no one ever, I never said organizations or individuals shouldn't talk to all commissioners. I do believe that's the case. But we have always established that when things hit this agenda, it is usually endorsed by that commissioner in that district. That's why it's on the application. What commission district is this in? And so I'm glad to hear Todd's comment about scoring. I don't have a problem with that.
I don't have a problem with that at all, as long as we score in a way that's equitable, in a way that's fair. Because the truth is, if you go look at the Grayson Foundation, if you look at the Community Foundation, if you look at United Way, if you look at the Beard Foundation, you'll actually be surprised who they're actually funding. Because the thought is that they're only funding certain organizations, and it's not. They are funding organizations across the width and breadth of this parish. And we need to lean on probably Todd, some subject matter experts to help guide that process. So I don't want anybody to think that I'm criticizing or knocking what they're doing. But what I see is, I see some maneuvering going on where if one commissioner tells you no, or I don't even tell people no, I tell them wait until next year. And they see that as, well, let me go try to curry up. And I get it, this is a political process. So if you can curry up to 7 votes, then you curry up to 7 votes. But I always tell them, I'm gonna be a no. And I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna speak on it. And I won't be bullied or pressured into a yes. So for me, it's not about the process. I'm fine with what we adopted. I have no problem with what we adopted or what the committee did. I want that to be very clear. But I also remember when I proposed doing a scholarship stipend for students at Southern, I was told, and we can roll that tape back, I was told that that wasn't my district. I had no business putting it on the agenda without talking to the commissioner who represented that area. There was a deal under Mayor Tyler at the airport with the announcement. I can't remember the name of the airline. That was a startup. I had some ideas to propose there. And I was told in this open meeting, conversations in that district need to start with that commissioner. And so I have abided by that. I have taken that and I have worked within those confines. So all I'm saying is, I agree, we all need to work together and not try to work around each other. Because I have an open mind, I really do. And I want to try to work with people, but I want to do it in a way that is responsible and that is actually helping those organizations meet their mission. That's my only goal and objective in this process. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Gage Watts.
Mr. President, we still on communiques, right?
That's right.
We've been here a while. I just wanted to make sure. One thing I want to say about this conversation about the appropriations through the NGO funding is it's important for us not to be hypocrites. We can't say to one organization that we're going to do everything we can to help them, and then to another one we're not going to do anything. And I'm done with that part. Is there anyone here from Animal Services?
Yes,
Hey, Director Samuel, I didn't see you over there.
How you doing, Commissioner?
Good, how are you?
Great.
Quick question.
Okay.
On those 2 complaints, just wanted to get a follow-up on the one on Lyson, and I believe the other one was on Lakehurst.
Yes, ma'am. So we did have officers go out and conduct welfare checks, but what I will do is get the most recent update and email it to you.
Okay.
Because they did go back out today.
Good.
Okay.
I want to make sure that we follow up on that, especially the one on Lakehurst that
Yes,
says
ma'am.
he's been calling a lot, so we want to make sure we address his concerns,
Yes, ma'am. We're definitely gonna get some action on it.
as well as the one on Lyson.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, no
All
problem.
right.
Okay.
That's it, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Gage Watts. Seeing no one on the board, let's move on. And given that we are a little long in the tooth in this meeting, I'll skip my president's report. And
Before you move on to the next section, though, I do need to read the announcement of a public meeting, which is the notice that's hereby given, that at its meeting to be held on Thursday, May 5th, 2022 at 3:30 p.m. at its regular meeting place, the Government Plaza Chambers, 505 Travis Street, Shreveport, Louisiana. The Caddo Parish Commission plans to consider adopting a resolution ordering and calling an election to be held in Caddo Parish to authorize the renewal of ad valorem taxes therein and to authorize the issuance of general obligation bonds. Now, we move beyond the President's report, and the next item is a public hearing on zoning ordinances, where we have none, so we'll advance to the public hearing on ordinances. You have a number to be read today. Would you like me to read those first and then open one hearing to cover them all? Or
Yes,
Okay. The first item up for public hearing today is a public hearing for ordinance number 6210 of 2022. That's an ordinance amending the 2022 budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the American Rescue Plan Fund to provide an additional appropriation for Fire District 4 and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item is a public hearing for ordinance number 6211 of 2022. That's an ordinance amending the 2022 budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the American Rescue Plan Fund to provide an appropriation for Sewer District 7 and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. The third item is public hearing for ordinance number 6212 of 2022. That's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues for the American Rescue Plan Fund to provide an appropriation for the Community Healthcare Solutions and otherwise provide with respect thereto. After that, we have a public hearing for ordinance number 6214 of 2022. That's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Riverboat Fund in the amount of $7,500 to provide an appropriation for basic necessities and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item is a public hearing for ordinance number 6215 of 2022. That's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Economic Development Fund in the amount of $3,000 for Lady Bass Anglers Association and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item is a public hearing for ordinance number 6216 of 2022. That's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Riverboat Fund in the amount of $6,500 to provide an appropriation for wildlife education and rehabilitation of Louisiana and otherwise provide with respect thereto. And the next item is a public hearing for ordinance number 6217 of 2022, an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Riverboat Fund in the amount of $10,000 to provide an appropriation for Shreveport Green and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item is a public hearing for ordinance number 6218 of 2022, an ordinance to amend and reenact section 50-26 of the Caddo Parish Code of Ordinances relative to exemptions and exclusions from sales and use tax in order to exempt diapers and feminine hygiene products for individual and personal use and otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item is a public hearing for ordinance number 6219 of 2022. That's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Economic Development Fund for the year 2022 to provide an appropriation of $25,000 for the Shreveport Bossier African American Chamber of Commerce and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. I should mention that a number of these items were heard by committees, some as recently as today, and those committees, where possible, we've attached the minutes, but for instance, some may have happened too recently for us to be able to do that. But you should find a lot of the minutes available on your agendas if you want to see the outcomes of those committee discussions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clerk, and thank you for using all of your energy to take us through all those public hearings. I'd like to open the floor to public hearing to hear from anyone who would like to speak in favor of or against any of the items listed under public hearings above. Anyone? Seeing no one, the public hearing is now closed.
Okay, that brings us to zoning ordinances for final passage. We have none today, so we'll move forward to ordinances for final passage, where the first item is ordinance number 6210 of 2022. That's an ordinance amending the 2022 budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the American Rescue Plan Fund to provide an additional appropriation for Fire District 4 and otherwise provide with
I'd
respect
like to
to
englobo and adopt ordinance number 6210 of 2022, 6221, 6211, 6212 of 2022.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Johnson to englobo and advance.
And adopt.
Or adopt,
And adopt.
sorry. 6210, 6211, and 6212. And I couldn't, where was the second from? Second from Commissioner Jackson. Would you like to speak on your motion?
No, those have been through the American Rescue Committee, and we talked about them in previous meetings, so I think we've talked about them here.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Jackson, you're on the board.
Yes, and I guess this is to the authors or whomever brought these, I guess, because I see a sewer district here. Who was sewer district 7?
Yes,
The two of us.
we shared it, 1 and 2.
Okay, Fire District 4.
That's me.
Okay.
Fire District 4, is that yours, Jim?
That's
Eh,
District 11.
That's 11, District 11.
Okay. I'm just curious to know if they are aware that these are are we of the impression that these are one-time dollars, or is this gonna be a recurring ask? I think maybe, I don't know if that was discussed in the committee, but
Yeah, the fire district, is this for the ballistic vests?
That's for the bunker gear.
It's
Oh,
one-time deal.
bunker gear?
Yeah, one time.
one
Bunker
time.
gear,
One-time
like
appropriate.
capital
So
clothing.
some-
And then
okay.
the sewer district 7's a capital expenditure. Community healthcare solutions, that's a pilot program, 2-year pilot program. Is that right?
1 year.
1-year pilot program?
Okay. And-
Now, the sewer district one, based upon when they put in their application, we had to reduce their funding because we didn't have enough money that wasn't allowed it. So, once we go through and some of those shake out and can't make it in, then we'll come back with sewer district number 7 to increase their request. Because what they got is lines that got holes in them, and they got pumps that can't keep up with the flow. Because when it rains in sewer, it bags up in people's houses.
Okay. And then my other question, because I wasn't able to make it to the committee meeting, my only other question is on healthcare solutions. I usually do not favor doing MCOs, MHRs, but it's allowed under the ARP, it's allowed, but I would suggest that they really clean up this application, because in one area of the application, it says they're gonna do mobile crisis, and then the other area of the application, it says that they're doing duplexes, they're building duplexes, and so they're,
We're doing both.
okay, because where it asks for their description of their project, it says mobile crisis and it mentions no duplexes, and then in the narrative, the purpose makes no mention of housing or anything. It just talks about mobile stabilization. That's all it talks about. But then in the description, it makes no mention of the mobile aspect of it. It only talks about building housing, and even in the timeline, there's no conversation about the mobile aspect of it. So I think they need to clean this up. I don't know who's doing that for us, but it needs to be tightened up to make sure that it complies with everything, because there are certain things that you can and can't do there. And then I talked with SPD, and they're doing the crisis response, and Amy Bowman had not heard about this. So I think we need to make sure that we're putting them in touch with Shreveport Police, because what I never want folks to think is just because the parish gives you money that you can start responding to the crime scene. They have to have all types of licensing and things of that nature, and I know Attorney Frazier will hopefully make sure that we indemnify from any liabilities of showing up to situations like that. So
This is for situations with juveniles, not adults.
right, but I mean, I imagine there are some juvenile situations that get pretty out of hand. So, and even particularly with the family members. So I have no objection. Let me put that there. I just want to make sure that we tighten it up. That's all I'm saying. Because I read the application and I think there's some tightening up on the application. So, thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Jackson. I think we're ready to vote. All right, please vote on the motion to englobo these 3 items and approve. Yes would be to approve, no would be to not.
All right, that motion carries with 12 in support, none in opposition. The next item is ordinance number 6214 of 2022. That's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Riverboat Fund in the amount of $7,500 to provide an appropriation
Move
for
to
basic
approve.
necessities.
Second.
We had a motion by Commissioner Young, a second by Commissioner Jackson to approve. Would you like to comment, Commissioner Young?
Yes, thank you. I appreciate everybody's comments about amending our budget to provide for different groups after the fact of its passage. And I certainly feel kind of guilty about having a couple on here that I brought late. after in the context of this budget. However, I think this this group probably has broad support among all of us, and is providing something that people really need. So I hope we'll all vote to approve it. Thank you.
And any, Commissioner Jackson?
And Commissioner Young, if I understand the committee correct, this is going to become a recurring ask. If I understand Ms. Hollis correct, she indicated that this is going to be recurring. She anticipated. Were you there?
I don't know. I was not at the meeting. I was out of town.
I was there, Commissioner
Yeah.
Jackson. I would assume that the need certainly is recurring.
Yeah.
Whether we fund it or not
Yeah.
is our discretion.
Well, I was there, and what I heard her say is going to be recurring, and it's also going to increase.
Well, the
And
need,
so-
that's the need,
so-
but that doesn't mean that we are obligated to fund it
Absolutely.
each year.
I'm just trying to give us level set here to show that this is what we, that conversation that we just had. So just wanted to make sure that I'm
Okay.
On the
Seeing no
record.
one else on the board, let's vote.
And that motion carries with 12 in support, none in opposition. That brings us to the next item, which is going to be I'm sorry, my page cut off at the bottom. It's ordinance 6215 of 2022. That's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Economic Development Fund and the amount of $3,000 for Lady Bass Anglers Association and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hopkins, second by Commissioner Lazarus. Commissioner Hopkins, would you like to comment?
Yeah, we did go to the Economic Development Committee, and they did recommend approval. This is for the Lady Bass Angler Association. Their tournament, I think they came 5 or 6 years ago. They're coming back to Caddo Lake this year, and this is for advertisement and things like that. It's nothing else.
And there's an economic impact study done.
Yeah, there is an economic impact study also.
And it
Pretty well washed itself. There was a little bit, it added to our economy a little bit, but it's nothing major, but it all pays for itself that
Okay.
way.
Commissioner Johnson.
Well, I heard there wasn't too much conversation on this one, but this one would have been a nice one to send to the Sports Commission. They could have funded with the motel tax, and that $3,000 could have stayed in our pot. But since nobody talked about it, I'm gonna still support it. I just want to make sure that I put that on the record.
Okay.
I would like to say that I did talk to, at the time, Mr. Wells, and they were supposedly funding something. He just didn't say what.
Yeah, I don't know what it is now, but
Thank you.
I'll check on it our next meeting.
Commissioner Jackson, you back on the board?
Yeah, 'cause I was going to ask, don't we have a representative? Who is our representative on the Sports Commission?
We do, and I am that.
Who?
Commissioner Johnson.
Commissioner Johnson.
I thought we had two.
We
Patrick Wesley.
got Patrick Wesley.
Patrick Wesley and Mr.
Got
Johnson.
3.
So, and what happened when it went over there?
I'm not sure. I talked to Kelly Wells,
Yeah,
and he said they were going to fund it to some extent, but he didn't tell me what amount.
Yeah, because if
So
we
let me
got,
tell you the process of that.
So it's expensive to have this.
Yeah,
to
so
bring
the
everybody
process
in.
to
Well,
that
I'm good,
is-
I'm good.
The process is, they talk to the staff uses a computer to say how much funding they want to do based upon hotel rooms, then it's brought to the body, to the board. The board then votes to either take that dollar amount or raise it or lower it.
well,
All right, we ready?
no, I still had the board. Did we not approve a pot of money for economic development in the American Rescue Plan Fund? I thought we just,
For football
or
games.
was it specific?
Specific.
Okay, so, again, this sounds like something that is one time that they're asking us to help them with. Maybe it'll be recurring, but my hope is that, we have conversations about what is gonna be expected of us long term, and I don't know if they've stated that or not. But I do agree that we need to have some, because Stacy and them usually will come down here and say something. I may have missed that meeting. If I did, I apologize.
Mr. Wells is no longer with
Okay.
the Sports Commission.
Okay.
And right now,
So again, just like the other, I have no objection. I just want to make sure that I'm consistent across the board on all of these is that we start having conversations about what our long-term commitment will ultimately be on it.
Well, Commissioner
Thank
Jackson, I will, to borrow a phrase that I learned from you, employ presidential privilege here, and say that, you know, in my mind, for 7 years I've been trying to impose discipline on the process, and NGO has one process with a strong look in the beginning to try to weed out the best and the worst and get all the items that you want to fund down to a number that could be funded. A little less, because you know you're always going to have some leakage during the year. You know, things that come up, you try to minimize that, and you know, I've always tried to encourage us to put as much as we can into that annual process. So that's the process for NGOs as I see it. Yes, that's the process for NGOs. Now, economic development, the process that we've been working towards there is that all economic development projects need to go through an economic impact study, because if you're giving them economic development dollars, they need to be able to prove their worth. So we try to push all those through an economic impact study, and then they kind of earn their own keep if they can pass that study.
Yeah, and Mr. President, I'm not debating that, and I'm on the Economic Development Committee, and so I know that process. I'm familiar with it. I just want to see what our long-term, down the road, do they continue to expect us to support, even if it's a small amount, if there's an expectation that we continue, because there are some in economic, we don't talk about that fund a lot, but there are some in the Economic Development Fund that can graduate. I shouldn't say roll out, maybe I should say can graduate out of it, you know, so just some thought, food for thought, but I think that conversation is forthcoming from the Appropriations Committee.
All right, so we are now voting on the Lady Bass Anglers, item 6215. You ready, Mr. Clerk?
We are ready. And that motion passes with 12 in support, none in opposition. That brings us to ordinance number 6216 of 2022. That's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and
I'd
expenditures.
like to move to delay this till our next regular session.
Second.
All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Young to delay, a second by Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts. Would you like to comment?
Yes, Mr. President, thank you. In light of our lengthy discussions on this topic, and in light of the no vote that the WERLA funding application received from the NGO committee, I think it would be appropriate for us to delay this so that if we have questions, and there were some questions and some were good ones, for the staff at WERLA, they could come and speak to us about them. And we could also hear at that time from the administration and Animal Services whether they, how they feel about it. And in the meantime, I would encourage anyone who feels sympathetic to this cause to make a private donation. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Young. Commissioner Chavez, are you on the board?
Yes, sir, President. Just getting a clarification. I thought this did come out of committee. Why is it on the agenda if we voted no from the committee?
It was voted to recommend it from Animal Services Committee, and it was on the agenda already introduced, then referred to the Appropriations Committee.
Got it.
So the Appropriations Committee did not recommend the advancement of it but it had already been introduced and advanced through, the Appropriations Committee did not endorse it, but it had already been advanced and on the agenda for the next cycle. So you will see on that one, and this is an unusual situation. I mean, it's rare that we have two different committees hear one item, and even more rare that those two committees would find would have a different result. But that's one reason I did mention, and you will find attached the minutes from both of those various committee meetings on there.
Thank you, President.
Commissioner Jackson.
Yes, I'd like to make a substitute motion to delay 6216, adopt 6217, 6218, and to postpone 6219. I guess second.
Did we
So I
hear a
delayed
second?
two and adopt the others.
Second.
Okay, I'm sorry, Commissioner Jackson, would you
I'm
please
sorry. So
clarify?
I made a motion to delay 60, and Glovo, and delay 6216, adopt 6217, adopt 6218, and delay or postpone 6219.
All right, so the motion is to englobo those 4 items,
Yes.
delaying
16.
6216,
Mhm.
and delaying 6219,
Mhm.
but adopting 6217 and 6218.
Correct.
Okay. And who was that was from Commissioner Jackson, that motion. Who was the second? I'm
I
sorry.
second.
JP.
Let's talk about it.
John,
one from over here too.
Oh.
Wasn't me,
John Paul, second.
wasn't me.
All right. We've got Commissioner Jackson. Would you like to speak on your motion?
Yes. I believe Commissioner John Paul Young wants to postpone 6216. I'm fine with that. The African American Chamber, and I've had some discussions offline about the African American Chamber. We did make a recommendation in the Economic Development Committee, but commissioners, before we adjourned that meeting, I looked down on my phone and I had a text message from a member from the Chamber of Commerce saying, did the commission cut their funding? And they heard that I led the charge. And I'm not leading the charge to mess over anybody or disrupt anything. I want to do what's best for the Chamber of Commerce, and I never thought that giving somebody $140,000 as opposed to $25,000 would be perceived or construed as messing over them. But I would like to have the members of the chamber here, because I talked to Ms. Brittany Dunn, I talked to Mr. Billy Anderson, and they did say if we had additional questions or anything, that they would be able to come down and they would like to be available. They are at the Capitol today for Chamber Day, African American Chamber Day at the Capitol. So to give them the opportunity to come down, because I don't want them to think anything was done behind their backs. So that's why I'm saying just delay these two, and it gives the opportunity to come down and them to have their discussion with the full body. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you, President. Just for clarification, was 6217, is that getting adopted?
Yes.
Okay.
Adopted the rest, but delaying the other two.
Thank you.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I mean, if you come in with a different dollar amount for 6219 at some point in time, being that the 25,000 is in the header, you basically gotta start this process over. So, this
That's fine too.
point of interest. Because, we had been saying not to put dollar amounts in there so that if you do change the amount in the body, then it won't have to start over. But now that it's been advertised this way with $25,000, you gotta start all over with this one.
Yeah. Well, and I'm open to doing I get what you're saying. I didn't realize the header was in the header, but I'm open to putting something on here that just basically gives them the 140 outright, even though administration says we don't have to do an ordinance for the 130. And so if we just have to make it clear, but I want people to understand that I'm not taking anything from them. I'm trying to give them the additional dollars that we already
What I'm
have
saying
set
is if the additional money is coming from the ARP and a project that was already done, this money is coming from economic development. So whatever dollar amount you're gonna utilize for economic development, this could actually still go as the 25,000. And if you're saying the amount is 140,000, just subtract that from the money from the ARP, and they still got the 140,000, that you don't have to do the additional 115,000 from the ARP. You don't have to do anything for that. That just say that that's the dollar amount that we'll use for that, and this 25,000 still go as written, and you don't have to delay it.
Well,
that's all I'm saying. Just keeping it simple.
Well, what I'm trying to do is have it to where they don't have to follow, because there are rules that we have for economic development, and then there are also rules that we have for ARP, which are probably a little bit more flexible. My hope is that they don't have to try to juggle between following two sets of rules and just have to follow one. That's my ultimate goal. And I think it makes it cleaner for the organization, And also, my hope is that it would make it cleaner for administration to track and
Well,
keep
then
up
if
with.
that's the case, then we need to vote this one down because.
If we get to that point, then I'm fine with that.
Well, I'm just saying, because if you still utilizing, gonna come back with this ordinance later on, you still got both processes. So if we're gonna use both processes, just keep the 25,000 going and then, take away from the ARP money, and you still got the total 140,000.
So that's why I'm suggesting that we postpone.
Well, no, what I'm saying is if you're gonna use ARP money and you want the target to be $140,000, then you got 25,000 here on the table. Then you take 115,000 for ARP and put it together. But what I'm hearing you saying is basically using 140,000, but then this ordinance is still out there.
If it has to go away, it goes away. It doesn't matter. I would like for them to be here so they would know what we're doing and they don't have to hear about it secondhand because they did say they were okay to postpone it. So,
All right.
You good?
It don't make sense, but I do. We don't.
Okay, Commissioner Gage Watts.
Yes, I would like to remove 6218 from that in Globo. I need to do an amendment.
okay, I'm good with that as a friendly amendment.
All right, so now the motion is to delay 62 in Globo and delay 6216, adopt 6217, remove 6218, and delay 6219.
Postpone, yeah.
All right.
And just as a point of clarification, the project that the African American Chamber is doing is one is in August and the other is in November. So what they did express to me is there's not an immediate rush. So that's why they were open to postponing.
Commissioner, or pardon me, Attorney Frazier, you're on the board.
That's a mistake. I don't need to talk.
You're good?
Yes, sir. Thanks.
Okay, so we've got. Okay.
I just want to know how long are we delaying these? Because typically you got to put a.
Is
a
it to
time
the
frame.
next meeting?
Yeah, I'm fine.
To
Next
the next
meeting.
regular session meeting?
Okay, that's fine. You
I
good?
mean, I'm asking.
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, next meeting, that's fine.
All right, you're right.
Thank you.
All right, so we have the motion, and nobody's on the board, so let's have a vote.
All right, that motion carries with 12 in support and none in opposition. So that motion being to postpone ordinance number 6216 and 6218 to the next regular session. And
No,
then,
no.
Hold on.
I'm sorry, 6219.
Thank you.
And then adopt 6217 and remove 6218. That's correct?
Yes.
Okay. But I guess my clarification is, was it to remove 6218 from the agenda or from the Englobo?
From the in Globo.
Englobo.
Okay.
Yes.
So the next item we would take up is 6218.
Yes.
Correct. Okay. So that is where we are now. Is ordinance number 6218 of 2022, an ordinance to amend and reenact section 50-26 of the Caddo Parish Code of Ordinances relative to exemptions and exclusions from sales and use tax in order to exempt diapers and feminine hygiene products for individual and personal use and to otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I move to amend ordinance 6218, where on page 2, where it says, "Be it further ordained that this ordinance shall become effective 45 days, from 30 days to 45 days from the date of its adoption."
Second.
Okay, we have the red motion from Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts.
To amend and adopt or just amend?
Amend and adopt.
With a second from Commissioner Jackson, I believe. Would you like to speak on that motion, Commissioner Gage Watts?
Yes, I'll just start out by saying that sales and use tax need at least 45 days to process this ordinance.
Okay.
And I'll speak on the ordinance if I may. Okay. I just wanted to say to everyone that this is relative to women paying more. We pay 48% more, 4% more for toys, for girls' clothes, personal items, 13% more. Most men can go and purchase shaving cream for $1.69, where we pay $2.49. Our body washes run about $7.50. Men pay about $5.50. Sanitary items from $5 to $40. Well, that doesn't apply to men. However, overall, it is that women are paying more, often while earning less. And this ordinance addresses gender-based disparities, and I'm asking for your support in this ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gage Watts. Anyone on the board? Commissioner Gage Watts, I have one question. Is this practical to implement? Have you talked to the taxing authorities? Are they going to be able to implement this without too much challenge?
Yes. Mrs. Bryant?
Yes, we communicated with the sales and use tax office, and they indicated that they needed, they asked for at least 4 to 5 days to get all the vendors notified, get the online process notified in order to accomplish this.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Bryant. Commissioner Burrell?
My only comment, Mr. President, is that on the beauty products, women normally are prettier than men, so that might account for some of that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for those insightful perspectives.
Thought you liked that.
That's why they pay twice as much, right?
Commissioner Jackson?
Commissioner Burrell stole somewhat what I would say, but I don't necessarily know that is. I think what he would probably also add is that's no reason to tax them or charge them more. Not tax them, but charge them more. But they usually look better than men look, and smell better than men look, and all that other good stuff. So,
but that's changing.
There is some equity that needs to be looked at there from that perspective. And you know, I also see this as a little relief, as particularly as we're going through this period of inflation, high cost. And so, is this going to be permanent, or is this temporary, or is this permanent?
We don't have an expiration date.
It's permanent.
Unless we come back with another order.
No. I just, I know some people do holidays. They'll do a pink holiday. So it's good to see this is progressive. A lot of cities do this. And my hope is that the other taxing authorities will follow suit. I know the city of Shreveport is already doing one. But I think there are some other taxing or sales taxing authorities that we hope will follow suit, because folks are really in a bind and in a pinch for those dollars these days. And if you notice that there are big retailers like Walmart and Target, they don't even prosecute now when folks, when individuals, I guess you say shoplift or something, they don't even prosecute those. So it shows that there's a real need in this area, and it's done with compassion. So I'm glad we're doing this in Caddo Parish. So thank you, Commissioner Gage Watts, for bringing this forward. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Chavez.
My question was answered. It was on the duration.
Commissioner Hopkins.
I just want to say it ain't much, but at least we cutting taxes somewhere.
All right, seeing no one else on the board, let's vote, please.
And that motion carries with 12 in support and none in opposition. That brings us now to zoning ordinances for introduction by title. We have none. So we'll move forward to ordinances for introduction by title. Today we have a number of them, including the introduction of ordinance number 6213 of 2022. That's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Economic Development Fund for Juneteenth events and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item is to introduce ordinance number 6220 of 2022, an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the E. Edward Jones Housing Trust Fund for the year 2022 to appropriate funds received from the U.S. Treasury in the amount of $1,260,238 for the Emergency Rental Assistance Program and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item is the introduction of ordinance number 6221 of 2022. That's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the American Rescue Plan Fund to provide an appropriation for a roof repair program and otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item is the introduction of ordinance number 6222 of 2022. That's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues for the American Rescue Plan Fund to provide an appropriation for Ring Doorbell Pilot Program in Caddo Parish and otherwise provide with respect thereto. That's followed by the introduction of ordinance number 6223 of 2022, an ordinance amending the 2021 budget to amend the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Section 8 fund and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. That's followed by the introduction of ordinance number 6224 of 2022, an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Riverboat Fund in the amount of $6,000 to provide an appropriation for the Greater Shreveport Chamber Foundation and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. And finally, in this section, we have the introduction of ordinance number 6225 of 2022, an ordinance amending and reenacting section 30-20 relative to nuisances to establish a property standards committee to consider property standards cases, including but not limited to dilapidated and dangerous buildings and structures and otherwise pertaining thereto.
Move to adopt work session minutes.
Second.
We have a motion to adopt by Commissioner Johnson, a second by Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts. Let's have a vote.
And that motion carries with 12 in support, none in opposition. We have no resolutions or old business today, so advancing on to new business, we have one item, the appointment to the sewer.
Authorize Wheeler Woods as the District 7, Sewer District Number 7 board member.
Second.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Johnson and a second by Commissioner Lazarus to appoint Billy Woods to fill the unexpired term of Carrie Lyles. Would you like to comment?
No.
Okay. Seeing no one on the board, let's vote. All right.
And that motion carries with 12 in support, none in opposition. That brings us to citizens' comments. We've received no requests for, oh, I'm sorry. That brings us to communiques and committee reports. We had a lot of that earlier.
We got Commissioner Epperson on the board.
Sir. I'd like to read this letter into the record. Dear sirs and madams.
Speak into your mic, Ken. We can't hear.
Dear sir and madams, my family lives at 2950 Jolly Napier Road, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71119. For the past 2 years, we have had to contend with pine wave drilling and completing a well just over our fence. During the drilling, Pine Wave refused to install a sound barrier during the drill operation. And only after I contacted our parish maintenance did they install a sound wall for the frac operation. Now there are new drill pads stacked at the edge of Jolly Napier and the present drilling pads. We have many residents adjacent to this area, meaning within 300 feet. Someone has to do something to help us in this matter. During this operation in 2019 and 2020, Pine Wave has had muddy water drain into both of my ponds and still running into the ponds. All trees and vegetation removed that was supposed to be a 10-foot buffer, bright lights shining into our windows, loud truck noises 24/7, and now water trucks shining lights toward our houses and speeding in and out of the location. It does absolutely no good to contact any local people with our problem. They simply say to contact whoever, which means nothing will be done. If they start cleaning the proposed new pad, something will have to be done before operations even start. Thank you for your consideration. Roy Mallon, 318-453-8644, and he copied this to Gavin.Broussard@la.gov, who is the representative from the Louisiana Office of Conservation under Richard IU. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Epperson. Commissioner Jackson.
Yes, could administration, the American Rescue Plan Fund, that list of projects and stuff, could y'all send that to everybody? Because what was clear from our Economic Development Committee meeting is, I think we have some things on there that folks may not necessarily be aware of. And so if we could send that list, and it's been a while, and it was a lot, and I give credit to that committee. But if we could send that whole list out with all of the projects and what they're funded as, I think that would be greatly appreciated. That's it for me.
Thank you,
Mr.
Commissioner
President.
Jackson. Commissioner Burrell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I agree with Commissioner Jackson, because there's money being repurposed in some of these committees and in these budgets. All of us are not aware of it. That gives people with the knowledge more of an advantage of how to use those funds. So hopefully you can send that, and then maybe I can get with Haley and Erica. Maybe they can share that information with us. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, seeing no one else. on
Motion
the
to
board,
adjourn.
so a motion to adjourn. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, sir.